Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on Shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward Golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
Good morning, everybody. It's the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network, and today is the start of training camp for the rookies today. But regardless, one day closer to the NFL season. Sam, it's a great morning. Sam Flannel's joining me as usual. JB in the booth. JB smooth, decked out in Lions gear, as he should be. And in the chair until Gabby gets here. She's running a little late today. Lucas is holding down the chair. Then we got Alex Westfall in the booth per usual. How is everyone's morning doing so far? You could smell it in the air. Football's coming closer and closer. Your thoughts, Sam?
Absolutely. It is a beautiful morning, and it's kind of conflicting for me because I am a guy, as older as I get, I really love summer. I love the late nights. I love the fact that you can do just pretty much anything you want outside. But at the same time, especially doing this job, especially being on the morning show now, I need football more than I need air at this point, because I cannot wait to actually react to Lions games, react to even Michigan games, react to all games around the NFL and college football. It is the best content you'll ever get all season, all year long, and I just cannot wait for it. And the fact that the rookies are reporting to training camp, it's just another benchmark. It's getting close, guys. It's getting close, boys. We can make it. We can make it.
You know what, too? Football season, as much as the entertainment as it brings, it also brings great conversations. It brings debates. Whether the Lions start 2-0, 1-1, 0-2. I mean, preferably you want them to start 2-0, but regardless, we're going to be breaking it all down here in the Morning Woodward Show. Lucas and JB, your thoughts? You're decked out in Lions gear. How excited are you?
Yeah.
Rookies report today to training camp.
As Sam said, I need football more than coffee and Red Bull right now. Just saying. All I need to know, who do I need to cash app to get these tickets to training camp right now? Just tell
free.
me. Just help somebody. Let me know. Go down there, grab some for me. I will cash app you $10, $20. Just get me a handful of them. I just need to be there.
And also, if you think about it, too, for all people, thanks for the reminder as well, 10 a.m., tickets are being released for training camp. You got to get in early. They're free initially. You buy packages of 4, if I'm not mistaken. Broder kind of broke it down for me today. Check out the dates. You can go to the Detroit Lions Twitter, DetroitLions.com. Get your tickets. Lucas, though, how excited? It's your first season officially with Woodward
I woke
Sports.
up juiced this morning. 50 days. It was 51 yesterday. Who's a good 50 number? Trying to think. What was Mike Singletary? Flannel?
He was 50, wasn't he?
We're Mike Singletary
Yeah.
days away from NFL season. I woke up juiced this morning. I had some Joey Badass, David Goggins, some Michael Bridges playing.
Miles.
My fault. Miles Bridges.
Okay, yeah.
27 days.
You know,
27 nights.
And I gotta at least say this too. Like, Lucas walked in and is like, "Hey man, you check out that Miles Bridges." Like, he's listening to Miles Bridges, and you know, hey, everybody has their own music
Put her on
taste.
a flight.
You can like Miles Bridges.
Only want to hit. Damn girl, you right.
No,
Bars.
no,
Bars.
no.
Bars.
If you listen to Miles Bridges, man, I don't know what to tell you. Hit a new. We'll get to that another day. But regardless, what also happened that we didn't get to talk about yesterday, and Alex, I put it in our Morning Woodward Show chat, the group chat, the Slack. Ermanni Bates and the Cleveland Cavaliers, they won Summer League. And this, I'm sorry, like the picture that ESPN posted, I think it was SportsCenter, with Ermanni Bates, the side-by-side with Ermanni and LeBron James, that was cringy, man. Like this, no, it's it's another one. It's Ermanni and LeBron, but it's really cringe, super cringe. And I say this a lot, Summer League to me, I don't really give a damn about it. I get if you want to look and admire your rookies and they play well, that's cool. But when we got things like this, if you have it, Alex, like this photo of Ermanni Bates with his ring and LeBron James under him, and the description or the title was, I think he tweeted this out as well, Cleveland, this is for you. What are we doing here? Like, is Summer League, like, what?
Cleveland!
Come on, bro.
Why?
What are we doing?
Why? And he played pretty well, I can't lie. He played well up until that point. Ermanni Bates, to some extent, was proving some people wrong, even though we knew he was a scorer. He scored. Good for him. He's a scorer. There's a lot more question marks with Ermanni Bates. But and we'll pull it up in a second, the side-by-side. Oh, here it is. Cleveland, this is for you. Only the beginning. Like, Sam, what is this?
I mean, this is
what the hell is this?
This is a situation of many, many things can be true. On one hand, I am genuinely happy for Ermanni Bates. You never want to see somebody who was that big of a star at one point, at least as a high school player and as a recruit, just flame out completely. But at the same time, at the point he was drafted, the odds and the data say that this Summer League title may end up being one of the highlights of his whole career. And when you're comparing that to literally I know he's not really comparing it, but when you put those pictures basically up, like back, like right this way over each other, you're comparing it to literally the greatest moment in the history of Cleveland sports, led by the greatest basketball player who ever walked on planet Earth. And that is just hey, you know what? I'm not going to be easy about that because it is true. But anywho, that's the thing.
6 rings.
Okay.
Are we really going to do this morning?
It's too early to do that. The reason why I wanted to bring this up is this is a great example on how overrated the Summer League is.
Sure.
Like, dude, I remember, didn't the Lakers win the Summer League championship with Lonzo Ball and Kyle Kuzma, if I'm not mistaken, as well?
Yeah. Lonzo Ball, and they had a great Summer League.
And Lonzo actually, I believe, won MVP of that Summer League, if I'm not mistaken. Like, it's cool, great. You beat a bunch of guys that are probably going to end up playing in the G League. But, like, for Ermanni Bates to ball out against these guys, it's like, yeah, dude, that means you're an NBA player. Congratulations. You're cooking guys that will probably never make a roster. So congratulations. And I'm not hating on Ermanni, but that photo is cringe. Like, that I have a problem with because, again, Summer League in the NBA, side by side, no. Like, even in the context of that photo, like, LeBron did a comeback down 3-1. Like, it's not even this. It doesn't even remotely relate in terms of difficulty. So as much as I'm rooting for Ermanni, and trust me, I want him to have a great career. I mean, he's from everything he's been through in college, before college, to the player he was, to I think the player he will become, I'm rooting for him. But damn, that's cringe. That's super cringe. Even if the Pistons won, and I'm being consistent, if the Pistons won the Summer League game, the championship, and they did something like this with the going to work Pistons or the Bad Boys, I would cringe even harder.
Sure.
So it's the same thing. I'm not trying to be just mad because it's Cleveland. That is just cringe, period. When people start giving credit to the Summer League championship, it's like, what are we doing, dude?
Yes.
That's my problem with it, but that was my little little rant.
No, and you're 100% right. I mean, Ermanni Bates, he has every right to be proud of his accomplishment, and if he would have just tweeted something like that without basically juxtaposing it to LeBron and the Cavs winning in 2016, I would have no problem with it. He probably shouldn't have captioned it with Cleveland, this is for you, but he should be happy with how he performed in this Summer League, and for the sake of Ermanni Bates, I actually hope he propels this into a successful NBA career, as I said before. But like I said at the beginning, that 2016 championship, and some of that has to do with the fact that Cleveland sports history is pretty bare between 1964 and 2016. That is the greatest moment in the history of Cleveland sports. That is not hyperbole in any way, shape, or form.
No.
And just Ermanni Bates, as much as I don't want to scold him for this, he has some nerve. Does he really understand the history of everything and how insignificant, how this big, how like microscopic that accomplishment is in the grand scheme of things? It means nothing.
No, and again, this is probably more so on SportsCenter than Ermanni because they edited the picture, they put him. So Ermanni's fine. You can celebrate winning your ring. It's fine. But like from SportsCenter's point of view, why? It doesn't make any sense. But regardless, today is training camp. Rookies report. We got a packed show planned for today. A lot of football to get to. A ton of Lions to get to. And I want to read some of these comments. People are chiming in. Good morning to everybody in the chat right now as well. Mike G, per usual. Philip C, Peter, LFG, Alex as well. John Lord, Chuck Brewer, again, Steve-O. Appreciate you guys. Jack's in the chat. Nobody, Coach Walk 37, all the guys and wonderful people that join us every morning. We thank you again for joining us on this Wednesday morning. And again, next segment, I do want to get into storylines for training camp because it is the first day. And I want to get your favorite storylines heading into training camp. NFL.com came out with an article breaking down some storylines they're looking for specifically, and I want to compare them to storylines that we're looking for and see if they align there. But regardless, Sam, this training camp, there's going to be a lot of interesting things to pay attention to. And, I mean, to start off, Jameson Williams will be able to practice.
Yes.
So that's significant. He'll be able to actually get rapport with Jared, unlike he was able to do last year, being hurt. So that's going to help him, I think, getting as much practice as possible, getting as many reps as possible in training camp is going to bode well for him when he comes back after 6 games. But in a lot of other storylines, the secondary, Jared Goff, at least for him coming off the season he came off of. So I cannot wait. A lot of storylines to break down. We'll do all that and much more. But before we do that, I do want to tell us about our friends over at Guardian Alarm. Because, guys, if the Lions are going to be successful, you need a great defense. You need a defense like Guardian Alarm because they got it. They got customized solutions from real experts. They got the 24/7 professional monitoring, and they have technology backed by people. Your safety and security deserves technology that's not only been proven to work, but by people that have been proven to care. All you got to do is call 1-800-STAY-OUT. For more information, call 1-800-STAY-OUT. Tell them your friends at Woodward Sports sent you.
How would you like to win not one, but 2 vehicles of your choice? One for you and one for your wife, your girlfriend, or your best bud. Get to Lady Jane's today for an award-winning haircut and automatically enter for your chance to win. Courtesy of Les Stanford Buick GMC of Ferndale. Lady Jane's, open 7 days a week, walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome. Woodward Avenue, the first paved road in America. Woodward Sports, the first sports network born in Detroit and made for Detroit.
Good morning and welcome to the Morning Woodward Show. I'm so happy to be joining Sam Flannel and Jeff Iafrate, JB, Lucas, and Alex today. If you haven't already, go and follow us on our social media at Woodward Sports. If you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe. And if you're listening via podcast, download this episode and leave a 5-star review. But we have some Lions talk to get into because training camp is here.
Today's the day. At least it's the start of everything. Rookies report today, and then the veterans will report the next couple of days. Media will be down there as well over the next couple of days. So I'm excited. Things are warming up. More things to talk about. Training camp storylines. And the question I have for everybody is, what is one storyline, or bring up multiple storylines, that you're going to be paying attention to this training camp? And for me, at least to start, the number one storyline I'll bring 2 up that I'm paying attention to. Number 1, and I already alluded to it, Jameson Williams. I think his progression in training camp is going to be so important because you're not going to be able to get those reps during the season at least. So when he comes back, everything's on the table. It's time to perform. It's time to show up. But training camp is where everything starts. It's where the chemistry's built. It's where the rapport's built. It's where, again, Jameson gets more time to spend with his teammates, with Jared Goff. So I'm excited for Jameson. I think this is one of the most interesting storylines for me to pay attention to because I'm a Jameson Williams simp. I'm at least I'm honest about it. I'm a Jameson Williams simp.
I think that might be the first time you've admitted it.
Yeah, typically it's just me and Sam arguing, but Sam, I admit it. I'm a Jameson Williams simp. I'm excited to see what he looks like when he comes back. The other thing I'm looking forward to is Hendon Hooker.
Ooh.
For really selfish reasons because I like Hendon a lot, but his rehab, again, he's still technically injured to some extent. I don't know how much participation he'll be having. I know he's just kind of been on the sideline, getting reps, throwing passes. He hasn't really been doing a ton, working with a bunch of other teammates. But still, Hendon Hooker's the other storyline I'm going to be paying attention to, his health, how he progresses. Because there is one question I do have that I don't think will get answered until it's time to answer it. And that question is, if Jared ever goes down late in the season, who comes in? Is it Sudfeld, or do they have enough faith in Hendon, at least through the first stretch of the season, where they think, you know what, he's ready. We could put him out there and he could at least fill in a game or two if he needs to. I don't know where Hendon's at, because most quarterbacks you'd say, well, they're too young, you want to sit him a year. Hendon's also 25 years old, so I think there's part of that as well. Those are the two storylines I'm paying attention to. What about you, Sam Flannel?
Those are some great ones, and I'm really, really glad that you didn't steal mine, because I am going to go with the secondary and how it's been revamped and how they kind of gel together. And what's funny is when I was looking at the prep last night, I actually kind of did a little bit of digging when it comes to even the last game of the season, the Lions at Lambeau, a game that the Lions won, and a game in which the secondary actually played pretty damn well, and they limited Aaron Rodgers to 16 points. But when you were looking at the defensive introductions for the Detroit Lions last year, you had Jerry Jacobs starting, Kirby Joseph, who we think is going to be a starter this year, but then you get to Deshaun Elliott, gone, Mike Hughes, gone, Will Harris, probably a guy that's going to be lower on the depth chart. And overall last season, even though that secondary played very well at Lambeau against Green Bay, last season they were third worst in passing yards allowed per game in the NFL, and overall the scoring defense was fifth worst in points allowed per game. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that the secondary was pretty damn weak. But what Brad Holmes did in the offseason was completely revamp it with 3 free agency signings. And this was kind of the first year that he had the cap space to do something like that. But the thing is, I know we are all expecting the Detroit Lions secondary to be much, much improved. And we did an exercise just a couple of shows ago in which I was looking at their personnel, at least personnel-wise, like player for player. It could end up even being a top 5 secondary if they all hit their ceiling. But the problem is a lot of those players are new. They've never played together before, and hopefully they use this training camp to kind of gel, know where each other's at, kind of how they can fit into the system, fit into the Aaron Glenn system, particularly guys like CJ Gardner-Johnson, Cam Sutton, Emmanuel Mosley, how they ingratiate themselves with a younger up-and-coming player like Kirby Joseph. And you got Tracy Walker, of course, coming back, who kind of missed out last season. He was hurt before the defense even took off. So for me, one of the ways that will determine how good this defense can be is if the secondary gels. Of course, if they can stay healthy, which Emmanuel Mosley and CJ Gardner-Johnson both struggled with that last year, and just how well they play together. Because no matter how much talent you add, it's not just a seamless fit on day one. But this is what they need to use training camp for. And if this secondary can actually hit their ceiling, just what kind of wonders can that do for the defense and the whole team as a whole?
I think that secondary on paper, Sam, to your point, is elite on paper. I think there's a lot of guys you like in that secondary. One of the deepest in the NFL, but certainly the chemistry, on the field stuff, that's all going to be very important to watch. And that's another storyline I'm going to be paying attention to. JB, what about you? Anything you're looking for in training camp? The rookies, veterans, any storylines?
Actually, 2 of them, and you did take one of them, by the way, but Hendon Hooker for sure. That's my boy right there. I always wanted him for the Detroit Lions. I know he's coming off that torn ACL, but just to see him in training camp, to see if he can get and do any reps, whether that's individual or with the team. I know we've seen him throwing during the summer, early months here, but still, just if he can get any reps, that would be nice to set up his future kind of moving forward with the team. But also, your boy Jack Campbell. Yeah, I know the Lions drafted him and immediately thought this is a day one starter. But Dan Campbell has already came out and said, hey, you have to earn your spot, which is respectable. And I think right now during rookie training camp and training camp in general is going to be the best opportunity for him to step up and actually earn a starting spot here. And we'll just have to wait and see.
What about you, Gabby? Any storylines?
I mean, there's a lot. One, I'm excited just because it's my first chance to be down there as media for training camp. So personal excitement there. Thank you, Lucas. But aside from that, I think you guys all hit on great points. The camaraderie between the team. I want to see how it compares to last year. Obviously, we saw it on Hard Knocks last year. How will that energy compare to last year going into this year? I know we touched on that already when we were in practices previously, OTAs. But now, like, how serious are they? What level of seriousness do they bring to that already lovable Lions energy that everyone is gravitating towards? How do they balance that out and take this season for what it is, as well as reacting to the media? How are they handling all this attention? How are they going to let this impact their practices, their game, their mentality, and wanting to see that affect them positively rather than take away and, get to their heads in the wrong way?
And if you think about it too, now that they're, officially, it's going to be I mean, and not just opening the training camp up to fans, but with the expectations the Lions have, if they opened, training camp up completely and they didn't have a limit, you know how many people would be down there as Lions fans? You look at some of the other organizations like the Cowboys when they do training camp, it's like a damn game. The amount of fans that are out there at training camp, it's a mini game, essentially. Think about what the Lions can do. And they're in Allen Park. They eventually want to move out of Allen Park, take their training facility closer to Detroit. But if they can do that, think about it with these expectations and the excitement fans have this season. Think about training camp in the future. And I think it'll be this season, like when fans start to show up, it's going to be packed. It's going to be electric, that environment. But again, think about it from that standpoint moving forward. Training camp from now on, man, it's going to be a show. It really is. And these players that, at least have been a part of this team for a couple of years now, training camp then to now, Sam, very different atmosphere. And a lot of fans are going to be out there regardless. Because usually there are fans, but it's different this time.
So
it is different.
There's 9 practices that are open to fans. It's July 29th, July 30th, July 31st, August 3rd, August 5th, August 8th, which is joint practice with the New York Giants, as well as August 9th. And then again on August 16th and 17th, which are the joint practices with the Jaguars. And those tickets do go on sale starting at 10 a.m. today. And there are a couple dates that are just for season ticket holders. So be sure to double check your dates on that.
It's just, I can't wait. And I'm going to try and make it down there as well to training camp just to check it out. I have never been before. Typically I'm just busy during that time, or I'm covering the Lions. I'm having a show, whatever the case may be. I'm excited to get down there this year. I want to check out the environment. And I think it's just going to be great, not only for, some of the veterans who have kind of experienced this, but for the young players. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, Penei Sewell, these guys, even the rookies. Jared Goff has kind of been through this. He did in LA. But regardless, this type of environment, I mean, again, with a great team also comes great expectations. So they're going to have to live up to them. But I think training camp to start off with that environment with the fans, it'll get these guys pumped up before the season because they're going to need it week 1 against Kansas City.
They're certainly going to need it week 1 against Kansas City. And I think the consensus expectation for pretty much everyone here and even most of the fans is that the Lions at the very least win the division. And I think the majority of Lions fans think that the Lions are going to win at least one playoff game, specifically if it's at home, and if you win the division, you get a home playoff game. Just imagine the love affair this city will have with this team. Even if they just win one playoff game this year, even if they just win one division, it will 100% usurp even the 08 Red Wings or the 04 Pistons or the 2012 Tigers, teams that actually in 2 cases won championships and in 1 got to the World Series, because I don't know if there's any city in America that's more starved for a winning football team than Detroit, because these Lions fans are great. They are loyal. They stick to their team. They love their team, but they have not been rewarded pretty much at all during the Super Bowl era, for sure. So, and this is the year where the Lions team could reward the fans' faith. I can't wait to see what this city will become if the Lions are actually as good as we all think they will be. The city will fall in love, and I just can't wait.
Now, all it takes is what? A division win first. I think a playoff win comes with that. But you get 2 in the same season, Sam. Now we're talking. A division win, you win the NFC North, you win a playoff game, you're going to be hosting one, and you'll probably be favored against whoever you face. And we'll get to that later in the show because you guys know how I feel about that and expectations. To me, it's not just the division. It's also the next step as well. But another storyline I think people are going to be paying attention to, and the obvious one, and this is kind of, we look back at last year, how spoiled Lions fans were because of Hard Knocks. We had kind of the inside view on everything. We're not going to have that same view this year. Everyone's going to be depending a lot on Inside the Den. That's kind of been our
Jets
fix.
fans aren't going to get that inside view either, apparently.
No, and that's the other part. So, again, that's probably why we're even more thirsty this year, and we're going to rely a lot on the media, a lot on Inside the Den, everything we can get our hands on just to see what's going on. Jared Goff is another one that I can't wait. And that's another storyline that I think, everyone's going to be following, obviously. Most important position on the team, most important player you could argue on the team right now. Jared Goff coming off of last year and how great he played, you can't help but see how he starts, at least in training camp. Because I remember last year, too, and the year prior, training camp was always rough for some reason on the offense. Like, I don't know why it was like that, but you saw last year when they had was it last year they had the training camp with the Colts? Was it last year or the year prior?
That was last year.
I remember with the Colts, you remember the offense was struggling a ton against that Colts defense, and then the defense for the Lions was getting torched by Matt Ryan and the Colts. And you look back, you're like, oh gosh, the Colts, they look good. Nothing ever matters in training camp. And you end up learning that anyway. The Lions offense struggled. They ended up being a top 5 unit. The Colts, Matt Ryan looked like the greatest show on turf. He looked like Matty Ice, and you saw what happened to Matt Ryan. Now he's done. So, things change very quickly. Don't hold everything, don't take some things with a grain of salt in training camp, because I remember last season you saw the reports about the backup quarterback position and David Blau lighting up training camp. Like, dude, hey, who gives a damn? So there's also that balance of, yes, these things matter, some things don't, but who cares? I'm just excited for the Lions.
Yeah, I mean, Gabby, you mentioned something earlier. They're having a joint practice with the Jaguars. I know you just talked about the joint practice with the Colts and how the Colts obviously looked better than the Lions. But when you look at how both teams performed in the regular season, it's kind of like, okay, that didn't mean a whole lot of shit. But at the same time, the Jaguars are another one of those up-and-coming teams that I expect a lot out of this year. I expect them to also win their division, and I expect them to win a playoff game.
It's good competition.
That is very, very good competition. But the thing is, too, last year, the Lions, one of their most decisive victories where they just whooped that ass from snap 1 to the last snap of the game was actually at home versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. And that was one of the games that really kind of hit home for me that, damn, this Lions team is really, really good. Even when people weren't believing it, like my wife, for example, I'm like, this Lions team is good. This is different. And one of those wins that signified it was that thorough beating that they gave to Jacksonville, who would then go on a run themselves and win the division and make the playoffs. So that to me, I know joint practices don't mean a whole lot, but that's like the one kind of team that they could be practicing with where my interest would be piqued a little bit. The results wouldn't matter to me, but I just think it's very good competition.
And I think it's a good team, too, to set the tone. I mean, you look at, you're going to be facing Trevor Lawrence, and we know how great he is. That's also part of it. But the other part of it, too, is both teams last year, the Jags and the Lions, it seems like after the Lions whooped that ass, they went on a run, and they looked way different. And same with the Lions. You look at the second half of the season, how they finished. Two teams that played well to end the season. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, if you want to take away the first half of that playoff game, regardless, second half looked a lot better. These two teams, I think it's a great matchup for the Lions. I think it'll help them going into Week 1 against the Kansas City Chiefs.
I'm excited when they play the Giants for their practices and have that energy in there. Dable and Campbell, I'm just like really excited to see how they interact.
I remember like when that interview when Dable spoke about Dan's interview, and he talked with Dable, and he was getting up and walking around the room and pounding the table and the excitement he showed. Dable and him are friends. I'm excited for the Giants as well, even though, hey, I'm cool with Daniel Jones. No one's scared of Daniel Jones. I'll just say that. Scared more of Saquon Barkley. So pay that man, New York Giants. I'm not even a fan of the Giants, but pay that man what he deserves. Speaking of what you deserve, I think everyone deserves a nice Big Boy breakfast, JB, every once in a while. Could you tell us, everyone, about our friends over at Big Boy?
Oh, of course, I got you, because you are right. Everyone deserves a nice Big Boy breakfast, because Strawberry Fest is back at Big Boy. Try the classic breakfast items like the strawberry hotcakes, the mouth-watering red velvet waffles. But if you're not feeling breakfast, why don't you try that strawberry bacon chicken wrap or cool off with a refreshing summer splash salad. But don't leave without getting some dessert, because they have the very delicious classic strawberry pie, the deep fried vanilla Oreos, and of course the strawberry hot fudge cakes and more at your local Big Boy.
How would you like to win not one, but 2 vehicles of your choice? One for you and one for your wife, your girlfriend, or your best bud. Get to Lady Jane's today for an award-winning haircut and automatically enter for your chance to win. Courtesy of Les Stanford Buick GMC of Ferndale. Lady Jane's, open 7 days a week, walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome. Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on Shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward Golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids, all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. If you can't catch the show live, you can go back and listen on Spotify, Apple Music, any platform you listen to podcasts. Leave a 5-star review for Sam and his blue flannel on training camp day. It was perfectly fitting. And if you're on the website, which you know you should be, go check out the latest news, articles, updates, show clips, and merchandise. The merchandise like JB's wearing today on the release. Now,
Let him see JB.
Of that,
Show
the
the
Lions
drip.
colors on the debut. I love it.
We had some new drops also yesterday.
We did. Oh, well,
For
there you go.
merchandise, so be on the lookout for that.
You're going to want to go check those t-shirts out. But another thing you're going to want to check out is this wide receiver ranking list that Dov Kleiman has been coming out with. And it's not his ranking, but it's, again, this is according to executives, players, coaches, and scouts. These are the top 10 wide receivers according to, again, executives, players, coaches, and scouts. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because we just talked last week about top 10 wide receivers, who we have in the top 10, who we don't have in the top 10. This isn't Madden ratings. So get that out of your head. I know Amon-Ra St. Brown was 19th on Madden. This is actually, much more. You take this more into consideration than Madden. I'll say that. But there are some things I do have a problem with this list. But Sam, you see the list. No Amon-Ra St. Brown. Not even an honorable mention. Not even an honorable mention. Before I, completely go off, what say you, Sam Flannel? Your reaction to this list? How dirty did they do Amon-Ra St. Brown here?
I mean, they did Amon-Ra St. Brown extremely dirty, especially not even to have him on the honorable mention, because for me, I have him in my top 10, but I have him at number 10. If they would have at least put him in the honorable mention, I wouldn't see it as just this blatant slap in the face, but the fact that they didn't even do that is just insane to me. And before I give you a couple of numbers, would we all agree in this room that availability is as important of a skill as you can have as an NFL football player?
Yeah,
yes?
100%. Because if you're not available and you have talent, you can't show the talent.
All right, so given that context, I am going to read you quite a few numbers that prove that Amon-Ra St. Brown should absolutely be ranked higher. So of the top 10 receivers that they listed, Amon-Ra St. Brown had more receptions last season than Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase, DK Metcalf, and Terry McLaurin. That's pretty good, I would say.
That is really good.
He had more receiving yards than DK Metcalf, Jamar Chase, and Cooper Kupp. The reason I mentioned health, because Jamar Chase and Cooper Kupp obviously weren't healthy for a lot of the year. But in terms of the honorable mentions that they list, Amon-Ra St. Brown had more receptions than any single of the honorable mentions. Any single one of them, and he's not even on that list. He had more receiving yards last season than Mike Evans, Deebo Samuel, T. Higgins, and Garrett Wilson. He actually had less receiving yards than Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith, but this is where you have to include some context, because Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle got to play with they were number 2 wide receivers that got to play across from 2 true number 1s, who Tyreek Hill was their 4th rated and A.J. Brown was the 7th rated, and those were the number 1s in the systems in which Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith played. And when you look at what Amon-Ra St. Brown did last season for the Lions, he was their receiving core pretty much, at least when it comes to the production. Amon-Ra St. Brown had 106 receptions. The next highest Detroit Lion had 48, more than double, and that was DeAndre Swift of all people. Amon-Ra St. Brown had 1,161 receiving yards. The next closest was none other than Khalif Raymond of all people with 616. So you see what I'm saying? Amon-Ra St. Brown was the receiving core last year. And when you look at the additional votes, that's where they put Amon-Ra St. Brown, which is completely disrespectful. Amon-Ra St. Brown had more receptions and receiving yards than every other wide receiver listed in the additional votes. So I'm going to compare how Amon-Ra St. Brown should be feeling to a scene in one of my favorite movies, Rocky, when Rocky had his first date with Adrian and they went back to the apartment. And at one point, Adrian was just kind of like, I don't belong here. That's how Amon-Ra St. Brown should feel. He should be right up to the top 10, the lower part of the top 10, but certainly above Terry McLaurin and DK Metcalf for now. He should be nowhere near additional votes. It is blatant disrespect. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, it's just going to build that chip on his shoulder, the chip that he has carried for his entire career since being drafted in the 4th round. I can't wait to see how he responds, but at some point, people need to put respect on Amon-Ra St. Brown's name. He has earned it.
Yeah, and the reason why I wanted to bring this list up is to have the conversation, because this is the time for projection. This is the time for conversation before the season. So it's not just reacting to a top 10 list. It's where do you think Amon-Ra St. Brown can come or go in this ranking list? Does he rise? Does he enter the top 10 officially? Do you think he's top 5? Could he be top 7? Because when you look at Amon-Ra St. Brown the last 2 seasons, he's tied for first in NFL history in the most receptions through the first 2 seasons. The most catches. Like, think about that for a second. Mm-hmm. And we're not even discussing his rookie season, which he got a majority of those yards in the second half. Last year, basically almost 1,200 yards, just under 10 touchdowns. What he did last year was unbelievable. But the thing that goes, and I think that goes over people's heads when you talk about Amon-Ra St. Brown, is he's not flashy. And that's the biggest thing that, frustrates me is he might not be flashy, but the guy gets a job done every single time. You need a catch on 3rd down, 3rd and 10. You need a first down. Who do you go to? Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's always open. He doesn't have any drops. Never does. So when you think about the best wide receivers, if you don't drop the football and you're always open, I feel like those are the 2 most important things to playing receivers, Sam. And he does those at an extremely high level.
Absolutely.
He might not be the burner. He might not be the big play guy who makes these one-hand catches, but he's efficient. And you can't argue the reception stat. Sure. Tied for first in NFL history.
And as far as not being a burner yet or not being as flashy, I think that means a whole lot of bupkis, especially when it means to where he should be on this list. I'm not saying he's Justin Jefferson. I'm not saying he's Devontae Adams. I'm not saying he's Jamar Chase. I'm not saying he's Stephon Diggs. I'm not saying that he's A.J. Brown or anything like that. He does belong on this list, though. And especially with what he did last season and even over the last couple of years, I would firmly put him above DK Metcalf and Terry McLaurin. I'm not saying DK Metcalf and Terry McLaurin aren't damn good wide receivers, but Amon-Ra St. Brown over the last couple of years has, I believe, been better than both of them, and I certainly think he's going to be better moving forward. I don't care about flash or anything, and hey, he might add another element to his game going into next year, maybe being more of a down-the-field threat. It wouldn't shock me at all.
And the fact that Garrett Wilson's there after what?
Sure.
What?
One season.
One season, and again, I give him a lot of credit because he played with 4 different quarterbacks: Joe Flacco, Zach Wilson, Mike White. Like it goes on for Garrett Wilson. So I'm not saying what he did last year was incredible, but after one season, you're an honorable mention over Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like that stuff. That's what confuses me. But again, it did say Dov also mentioned on this list that Amon-Ra St. Brown was the #1 vote getter outside of the honorable mentions list. So again, just shy, but he should be there. If anything, he should be in the top 10. But I do think after this season, if I have to give out stats, no Jameson Williams the first 6 games, no DJ Chark, I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is good for 1,300 yards this season. 1,300. You give him close to double-digit touchdowns. That right there, there's no reason why after this season he can't be officially a top 10 respected receiver because. And maybe Amon-Ra St. Brown knew this, but coming to Detroit, unfortunately, you do get underrated consistently, and you get disrespected. It's just how it works. I didn't make up the rules. It is what it is. That's why there's Detroit versus everybody. And people tend to say that a little too much over everything. But this is a great example of that, Lucas. Amon-Ra St. Brown doesn't get the respect he deserves. And I think this season, hopefully, after 1,300 yards, he will.
My question about this whole ranking list is if he's not there, then what level is he on? What receivers are you saying that he's compared to, like Jerry Jeudy and Chris Olave and all these other ones? It's just like what logic? When these guys, I think these guys just like watching football, watching highlights, but not actually thinking about what goes into the games when they make these lists. I know these are NFL and execs and scouts and everything, and that's my point. Is this dude was a 4th-round pick, and he's performing better than half the 1st-round picks over the last 5 years.
It's crazy.
So the fact that you have this man not even in the honorable mentions, where again, not saying these guys aren't talented, but if talent doesn't get you production, then who cares? If production gets you more than talent, I'll take that all day of the week. And if you're gonna, everyone. When Julian Edelman, Wes Welker, when all those Patriots slot receivers were in the league, they were getting hyped up, calling top 10 all the time. But the fact, like you guys said, he's in Detroit, it's just going to take a year. And I honestly don't think there's much more that Amon-Ra can add to his wheelhouse as far as talent. But he can get better and more precise at what he does. So if he keeps doing that, he's going to keep having better production. It's going to be the same talent. So what's it going to take for this guy to actually be considered top 10? Well, I don't know. People just actually watching film. That's all it's going to take because these guys obviously don't do it.
And people are chiming in now. And Jeff Olson says, I think we are overvaluing catches. Yards and touchdowns mean more.
Oh, my
well,
God.
Amon-Ra had more yards and touchdowns than Garrett Wilson, but he didn't make
He
the
did.
list. So, like, apparently those don't matter either, Jeff Olson. Like,
Yeah, and when you have Jamal Williams having 17 touchdowns and probably 12 of them being from the 5-yard line, and then it's probably not going to lead to as many touchdowns. And
No.
those catches lead to touchdowns.
Well,
Let's not forget this was a top 5 offense, and he was the top receiver in it.
Well, and for the record, I do think Amon-Ra St. Brown maybe needs to pump those touchdown numbers up because they're actually not as good as you might think. But yeah, it's not just about receptions for Amon-Ra St. Brown. It's also about yards. And when you look at all of the players that they mentioned, as I said earlier in the additional votes, Amon-Ra St. Brown leads all of them in catches and yards last season. And I heard something you said, Jeff, and I kind of found it a little bit of a backhanded compliment. It's like, okay, so in the additional votes, Amon-Ra St. Brown received the most out of them. So that by that definition, Amon-Ra St. Brown is the 17th best wide receiver in the NFL. Thank you for the table scraps. I appreciate that. I'm just going to eat them up like I'm like a dog waiting for it to fall. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. He's the 17th best wide receiver. Get the out of here.
You know, it's funny too when you mention Amon-Ra and you think about moving the chains. You know where he ranks among receivers that when they made catches, it equated to first downs?
Probably very high.
Well, let's read you the top list. So Justin Jefferson, pretty good.
Yes.
He's pretty damn good. Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Listen to that company, folks. Listen to that
so
company.
when you talk about, well, the catches don't mean as much. What about getting first downs? Does that matter?
Matters as much as just about anything in the NFL.
Moving the chains matters, does it? So Amon-Ra is pretty damn good at that. You know, this is on getting the first downs. When the defense knows, hey, we got to stop that guy, that 6-foot dude who runs a 4.6. We got to stop him.
Dude.
And he comes out, still cooks you, still gets open, and makes the catch for a first down. That stuff matters, but hey, who am I? Who am I? I should have to make these lists. Listen to executive scouts, players, and coaches. And as much as I respect their opinion, this is wrong. And I think this season, I guess the question is, and JB, I'll let you close it out. Where do you think he can rank this upcoming season? After a full season, this 17 games coming up, I think he's going to get 1,300 yards. I think he's going to have a great season. Do you think finally he'll get the respect he deserves, or just because of where he plays, he will never will?
I think just because where he plays, he might never get the respect he truly deserves. But from this list, I truly think he deserves to be where Terry McLaurin is, or at least in the honorable mention. I don't know why you would put him outside of this, but during the season, as you said, Jeff, you're expecting 1,300. I'm expecting around 12 or 13, around that same rate as well, too. And I think he could end up top 5. And don't sit here and tell me that he does not have this list in his head right now of all these receivers that they rank or they think are better than he is right now. And during the season, he's going to show you, and he's going to tell you this at the end.
I told you.
See, this is why I love this time period. As much as I want football, like I want to watch the NFL, I love this time period because this is where all the conversations start. And I know people think like, man, you guys keep reacting to these lists. No, this is the point of it because we want to get these things straight before the season, like how we feel, what our takes are, where we think Amon-Ra will be at the end of the season. Like, we got to get these out because once the season starts, Sam, you can't make them now.
No.
So we have to get these out before the season. And like I said before, when it's all said and done, 1,300 yards, he's going to show people, and maybe, people will still disrespect him. But on a bigger stage in the playoffs, I think Amon-Ra is going to be a big-time player. And people will see that. Maybe they won't see it when the Lions were 1-6, but they started seeing it when they were 8-2. Think about it this season when they win 11 games and they're hosting a playoff game. You have no choice but to turn on your television if your team's at home and watch the Lions and watch Amon-Ra St. Brown cook your DB.
He will cook
That's what
that
essentially is going to happen.
And you know what? I actually think I'm comfortable enough to say this because I don't think anybody in this room will actually necessarily think this is a crazy take. JB, you kind of mentioned, a couple of you kind of mentioned what you expect Amon-Ra St. Brown to do this upcoming season. Would it shock any of you if Amon-Ra St. Brown was number 1 in receptions next year in the NFL?
No, I would
He missed
not
an
be
entire
shocked.
game. He missed an entire game and had over 100. So, I mean, I know that that's not necessarily the likely, but it wouldn't shock. Would it shock anybody?
Well, you know what? It might
would
shock.
shock me,
It would shock
Okay.
Lucas because Sam Laporta has to get his, 100.
That too.
He has to get his 70
There it
catches.
is.
Very much. And there's a bad man out in Vegas right now named
Yeah, like
Devontae Adams,
Sam
who's gonna
Laporta has to
fed
get his
like a
800,
fucking
900 yards as well.
I mean, Sam
So-
Laporta, even if he doesn't have to have the most receptions. He's still going to have 800, 900 yards, maybe on like 20 catches.
Hey, Lucas, Devontae Adams is a very bad man. Devontae Adams had less receptions last season than Amon-Ra St. Brown. That's an
But
objective
they're
fact.
not going to be feeding Josh Jacobs like they did last year. That's a fact. And Josh Jacobs might not even be stepping on the field this year for him.
Oh,
I mean,
gee.
that's all well and good. I'm
And-
just saying there's been a proof. There's been a sample size.
I'm just saying it would shock me. It's not a bad shock, but it would shock me. And it's not like, oh my God, why did this happen? I think he could be top 5 for sure. Like that wouldn't shock me, but numero uno, it would.
Like you said, it's hard to lead the league in receptions when Sam Laporta takes like 70 of those. Because he's.
Brock
Yeah.
Wright too.
I mean, because Lucas, if he's going to be all the Famer, he's got to start week 1. He's got.
No, that's not true. I even went on record and said Kittle. He was streaky. Kittle didn't start right away. I'm telling you, he's the Hall of Fame gold jacket guy.
Man, Amon-Ra St. Brown to me is like insurance, Sam. But
Yeah.
is he like Swiss insurance?
It is a dead tie because they are both the best that you can possibly have. And now that summer's here, it is important to make sure you are properly covered, whether it's a grad party or just a group of people over to enjoy the lake or pool. Your liability exposure increases significantly in summertime. Let the Swiss Insurance Group review your coverage and make sure you are protected from an unexpected loss. Check us out at swissins.com or call Mark today at 248-800-4177. Again, that is 248-800-4177, Swiss Insurance.
It's the Randy Wise Celebrity Golf Tour.
You're a good coach, Tim. Oh, great shot.
Some of the biggest names in Michigan sports, and some, well, not so much.
Oh, yeah, baby. Oh, yeah, baby. Oh, shit. Go in.
Watch episodes at woodwardsports.com.
We are the network for Detroit by Detroiters. Welcome to the Woodward Sports Network.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here at woodwardsports.com. Thanks so much for tuning in this morning. We're happy to have you here. While you're here, be sure to like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. If you're on the website, check out our articles, previous live shows, clips, merchandise that is updating almost daily at this point, and more. And then if you're listening via podcast, download, leave a 5-star review, and follow us on all social media at Woodward Sports.
So we got done talking about Amon-Ra St. Brown. We talked a little bit about expectations. And speaking of Detroit versus everybody as well, and this is just funny as hell. How disrespectful was ML football for this? And Lucas, if you have the tweet, if you could put it up. I saw this yesterday scrolling on my Twitter. How disrespectful. Crazy stat. The Detroit, which, by the way, why are we...
Via the encyclopedia, by the way.
Yeah, via the encyclopedia. Thank you, by the way. It says the Detroit Lions, this is the tweet, the Detroit Lions' last playoff win, 1991 versus the Cowboys, is closer in time to the Kennedy assassination, 1963, than it is to the current date. That's, okay.
That's a dark
that's
twist,
weak.
man.
You can
That's
throw
not
that
cool.
out there with pretty much any date.
Did we? Yeah, like, well, yeah, that's true.
Like
It's
any
not.
date past that time.
It's like, by the way, Kennedy just caught like a stray for some reason too. I think he caught a stray as well. But that
Literally,
question,
I mean, he literally did. Well, I don't know if it was a stray, but he caught one for sure.
Oh, Lucas!
Lucas, the flannel Lucas.
damn.
That's not funny.
Damn. No, okay. You know what though? The last 2 days, yesterday, my Tua comment, like, we've been kind of we've been drawing that, crossing that line lately. But you know what?
Who cares? Like, it's not like it's nothing like terrible. It's
I mean, it is lives.
No. yeah. Well, anyway, move on to Sam.
Not terrible. No, it is lives.
I want
I mean,
Sam
they
to
were.
answer this question, and then I'll get everyone's thoughts on it. And the question is, at least for ML football, can Jared Goff and MCDC change this playoff drought? Sam, what say you?
Of course they can. I think at this point this season, it would be a disappointment if they don't. This is the one time where I think everybody thinks this is different. I mean, the Lions have had some teams in the past, like 2014, for example, which they made a run. They lost in the playoffs at Dallas, and then the next year, they didn't even make the playoffs. This is a team, to me, that is built for sustained success. And one thing that I kind of want to add to that whole tweet, because it's not funny, but to me, it's it's not an example of Detroit versus everybody or disrespect. It's an example of perspective, because nothing that they said there was false. I can actually change it. If you want to say, instead of the Kennedy assassination, look at it's been less time since the Beatles came to America for the first time, February 9th, 1964. Maybe that is a date and a benchmark that can be less polarizing than the Kennedy assassination. But at the same time, I think we all agree in this room that at least in the next few years, the Lions should win at least one playoff game. We're at a point now where one playoff game in the next few years would be a massive disappointment. So if they can't end it, if this group can't end it, especially with all that they have coming back this year, all that Brad Holmes has drafted in the past couple of years, Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, Dan Campbell, I could go on and on and on, the free agents in the secondary. This Lions team, I think, will end that drought this year. And if they don't in the next few years, then I'll throw my hands up and say that Detroit Lions are just cursed, because it is way more likely than not that I would say that they even end this drought this year.
And I love this comment too. And Sam, I want your reaction to this. Hoofhearted says the Lions are going to start a new Kennedy administration with TK85 catching the Super Bowl winning touchdown.
God.
What about that?
It's going to be off like a Philly special, too.
Philly special.
Oh, my God.
TK.
It's going to be a TK85 special.
Sam, your reaction to that?
Why does everybody love Tom Kennedy so much?
Well,
Listen,
He's like their 7th best wide receiver.
Because when his number is called, he does not disappoint. Whether it's catching a 3rd and 9 in Chicago or catching a Khalif Raymond dot against Green Bay, when Tom Kennedy's number is called, he shows out.
But he's Sam. He's like an ATM. Money whenever you need it.
So you must not need it very often then. That's what you're saying. Because that 3rd and 9 at Chicago, that was great. I think it was a 44-yard reception. That was amazing. But and if you want some kind of like insight into the head of Flannel Sam, when I saw that it was Tom Kennedy, of course I'm excited. I'm like, let's go. And I'm like, it's Tom Kennedy. I'm gonna get it hard on Big D Energy the next day. Oh,
What
Jesus,
did he
pause.
say? What? Flannel's getting it hard on Big D.
Hey, what show have I been on the longest, everybody? You guys just got to get your minds out of the gutter. That's on you guys.
Yeah,
because
you've been rocking on that Big D for quite some time. Like you've been riding.
that was the first show I ever.
No, you've been riding Big D for a while, man. I'm proud of you. I really am. I do.
Been holding your own on there.
Yeah. Now I'm just extra. Now I'm just
coming back from
extra. But to answer the question, will they end the streak this year? And I guess I'll change the question to is it playoff win or bust this year for the Lions? Because that is, I think, a conversation. Some people would say, and I know some of those people would be someone I used to work with who I love very much. Divisional win, yes. Playoff win, not so much. To me, that's bogus. To me, that's bogus. I think if you're going to win your division, okay, and if you think about it, if you win your division, you host a playoff game, you're going to be favored in that playoff game, Sam. Why not hit them both? Hit a 2-leg parlay.
Like you say, Flannel, hit him high, hit him high.
Yes, the Monstars, and that's what the Lions need to be like in their home playoff game. Because, and I'm just gonna use this as perspective. And I know it's different situations because the Vikings have been a historically better franchise than the Lions. But do you think the Minnesota Vikings were happy after last year winning the division fraudulently with 13 wins and then playing at home and playing the New York Giants and giving up the career game to Daniel Jones? Do you think they look at that season as a success? No, because whether it's the Vikings, whether it's any other team losing a home playoff game, you're getting upset in the playoffs. And that is one of the worst heartbreaks that you can feel as a sports fan when you think that you should win and you don't, like how the Pistons, they lost in that series to LeBron James in Cleveland the year that they made the finals and lost to San Antonio and lost game 5 in which LeBron put up that 48 special. Like those are the type of losses that are heartbreaking. And if you got a home playoff game, you got to win it because those opportunities are not guaranteed every year, no matter how well the Lions are built for sustained success.
And I'll just say this, guys, okay, for everybody that's saying, well, you know what, a division win, it should be expected, I want to win the division, but playoffs wouldn't be a failure if you lose. No, it would be.
Yep.
It would be a failure. To me, at least, and this is how I view things a little differently, I think this is how players view things, if you don't win the Super Bowl, technically it is a failure. That is the ultimate goal every single season. Now, for teams that are building, you want to take those steps. This isn't the NBA. Like you could say for the Pistons, you want them to challenge for the play-in. You want them to, contend in a playoff series, and then you want them to get to the second round, and then the conference finals, then the NBA finals. The NFL's different. Like, only so many teams. I mean, you look at the Minnesota Vikings, 13-4 last season. They lose a playoff game. No one's happy. The Giants, from where they were in the gutter, they immediately made the playoffs and won a playoff game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not as linear as people think it is. So for the Lions, yeah, they haven't won a playoff game since 90, over 30 years. Okay, closer to the Kennedy assassination. We get all that. But does that change what's fair this year? Like, to me, a playoff win should be expected. You look at the Lions, where do they rank in the NFC? They're a top 4, 5 team. If you want to put them higher, fine. Regardless, they're one of the better teams in their conference. By default, to me, they're a contender. If you're a contender, if you don't win a playoff game, especially the first one you play in, that you host, that you're favorited in, that's a failure. Am I off here? Lucas and JB, anybody?
No, I agree with you. And me personally, it's not that I don't care about winning the division, but if the Lions win a playoff game and we don't win the division, I don't care. Like, to me, nothing would be, honestly, more like heartwarming than, let's say, the Vikings win the division somehow. They do another regular season hero run, go 13-4. Lions finish 12-5, and then the two teams play in the playoffs, and then the Lions win and they beat the Vikings. Like, that would be the most bitter thing for the Vikings that they could ever dream up. Kirk Cousins, that's what he gets sold on. He's gone. All his real NFL worth is just diminished. Lions are now all-time high. You can't say anything about him compared to the Vikings. So even if this team doesn't win the division, I want them to win a playoff game more than the division.
Yeah, I mean, the division's the first part, because if you win your division, you host a playoff game. If you don't, you sneak in. If you sneak in, it's a little different. I think people would be more disappointed with not winning their division than winning a playoff game, because I agree with that. I think both should be expected, but the division to me is the most important, because the Bears, the Packers, the Vikings, who's your competition? Like, I think teams will be decent, but no, I don't think anybody will have double-digit wins like we expect the Lions to have. So not winning your division, Sam, would be the ultimate failure. But if you win your division, guys, like, think about it, and you host a playoff game and you're favorited, that's a failure. I don't think anybody would watch that playoff game, and I get context matters if they get blown out versus if it's close. But regardless, if you play the Giants, let's just say again, that's like the Vikings, and you lose in a close fashion, I don't think anybody is going to come on and talk about it on Monday and say, you know what? They tried. I'm just so proud of them this year. They really put all forward their effort. Like, no, dude. Everyone's going to be upset. All Lions fans will be upset. Even moving forward, the goal of the next season will be win a playoff game, or someone's going to have to fall on the sword. To me, I think those expectations are this year. But what about you, JB? What do you think? Am I off here?
No, you're 100% right. No one is going to be happy coming in the next morning and say, oh, hey, at least we tried to win that playoff game. No, the expectation is to win the division, win the playoff game, and keep it rolling from there all the way to the Super Bowl, which is my expectations right there. I already told you I put my money on it, but I think this is the perfect opportunity for this Lions team to actually go far. They've revamped that secondary. They brought in a lot of players that they truly believe in, and the most important part is all the players and coaches have bought into each other on this team, which is a perfect match and a perfect pairing for them to do and go far in this team.
Yeah, like Jared Goff, he's won playoff games. He has experience winning playoff games. Dan Campbell, as an associate head coach, has had experience in the playoffs. Like, this isn't it's not like you have a rookie quarterback at the helm. Like, Jared Goff's been in these situations. Even though Jared fell short in the Super Bowl, the Lions don't have at least for me, I don't expect them to go to the Super Bowl. But hey, if you don't win the Super Bowl, technically for every team, it is a failure. But we don't have these Super Bowl or bust expectations. For a lot of Lions fans, it's just win a playoff game. That's all you got to do. That's at least you're taking a step in the right direction. Don't tell me they don't have enough to do it this year. Like, they do. They will. And no matter who they face, unless it's Philly or San Francisco, I think they should beat them.
Sure.
And I would pick the Lions against any other team, quite frankly. Dallas Cowboys, Dak Prescott's at quarterback, so I would probably lean yes. But regardless...
Not even a debate.
Joking. But regardless, the Lions, those are fair expectations. What about you, Gabby? For Lions fans, is it fair to say, well, I expect him to win the division, but the playoffs, we'll see what happens? Or you think you should hit both, ideally, this year? Check out both those boxes. And don't give me well, technically they have... No, say it. What do you think?
I think there's an expectation, and then I think there is a really big want. It would be a failure of a season if they did not win their division, and it would be a real big bummer if they did not win a playoff game.
Okay, so at least you admit that. It would be a bummer. Like, at least I don't want
No,
people...
I think everyone would be incredibly disappointed because after winning the division, if they go and they lose a playoff game, everyone's going to be devastated because that's the closest taste that we got to a playoff win.
Which is true. And what you just said, I think, is the most important thing when you talk about really disappointed. I don't think anybody would be happy with a division win and a playoff loss, especially it depends on who it's against. I think that matters too. It's not just losing, but who you're playing, the context. Now, if Frank Ragnow, Penei Sewell, and Taylor Decker all went down and you lose the playoff game, yeah, there's context. If Jared Goff's hurt, yeah, there's context. But regardless, Sam, if they're a majority healthy, no reason why you can't go out and win a playoff game this year. I can't believe I'm saying that, by the way. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true, and I really believe that.
No reason whatsoever. And Lucas, you look like you were chomping at the bit. What do you got?
I got a question because I feel like I'm thinking about this backwards because I feel like a playoff win for the Detroit Lions. I get it. We haven't won a division in years. I would much rather, if we're talking about, I'm prioritizing winning a playoff game, honestly, more than the division. Not saying you don't need to prioritize winning the division, but if you win the division and don't win a playoff game, in my eyes, you really just won a division that was irrelevant to the NFL that year. So I feel like winning a playoff game is what this team needs more than the division. And I'm not saying that they don't need a division win, but I think it would almost be like, okay, this really is the same old Lions if they won the division but didn't win a playoff game, and then you're just kind of waiting for that next team to come. Like, this was the Lions' chance, now it's blown almost.
Well, here's why I disagree with if they win the division. I don't think people would say it's the same old Lions because they haven't won the division in a long time.
I don't think as Lions fans we would, but just looking around, I think they would say the NFC North was down. The Lions had the best year they've had in a long time, and they still couldn't win a playoff game. Like, if the Lions didn't win a playoff game, I would be the next JFK assassination. If they won the division and then lost a playoff game, it would be even quicker. If they went second in the division, which I don't expect, and then won a playoff game, I'd be on cloud 9 because it'd be bitter. Like, it would just be the best, like, I don't know. Still, you have that underdog chip on your shoulder and you win a playoff game on the road. And I think that's what would be really beneficial for this team in the long run more than anything, honestly.
I just think also the playoff win, if you win a playoff game, the monkey, it gets off the organization's back, but more than that, players. Like, for Amon-Ra and these guys to finally be like, thank gosh, like, we won a playoff game. Now, I don't think that's where it ends. But from what they've seen in Detroit to where they get to if they win a playoff game, it's like, okay, now we're serious. Now we know we're a good football team. I think it raises doubts in people's minds. I think the Vikings went through this where you win 13 games. A lot of those are one-possession games. And then you lose to the Giants, and everyone's sitting there going, well, how good were we? Like, did we really stink even though we won 13 games? Like,
yes.
I think the Lions, they did. And I think the Lions players need that to solidify it. A playoff win would mean well to everybody. Yeah. More so the fans, but the players, the coaches, and then going into the next season, even more confidence. Because if you fall short in the playoffs, let's say they win the division, they lose the first game at home, they get a bye, but they lose the game. This is how people are going to look at it, at least players too. Next season, win a playoff game. Like, I want it to be
There's
more
no
than
ifs,
that.
ands, or buts about winning the playoff game the next year than after that.
Yes.
If you win the division and you don't win that first game, you have to win your division and win that playoff game that next year.
I'd rather them just get it off their back a year early, win a playoff game. Whatever happens, hey, you win a playoff game, you lose the next one. Okay, it's disappointing, but regardless, the Lions, they won a playoff game. The next season, it's much easier to discuss higher expectations. Like, now we could talk about, okay, NFC title game appearance. Because if they don't win a playoff game, Sam Flannel, I don't want to hear anybody talk about NFC title appearance next year. You got to just win a playoff game. That has to be the first step. And then after that, anything can happen, honestly. It's the playoffs. Just get in the dance.
It's the monkey on the back that the Lions really need. They need to sort of cleanse the souls of Detroit with at least one playoff win. It really is insane how long it has actually been, and the easiest way for them to do that is to win the division, win a home playoff game. And hey, if you win a playoff game, and nobody's really talked about this, the way that things could shape up in the playoff bracket, you might actually get a favorable matchup in later rounds.
Right.
So if you win a playoff game, you can even go to the Super Bowl and win it. I'm not saying it's likely. I'm just saying if you win a playoff game, that is a great first step.
Well, you know how you win a playoff game, Sam? It starts in the gym.
Absolutely.
So can you tell us about our friends over at Planet Fitness?
Absolutely. Where some of the Lions players can be working out to get to look like this. To look like this.
Flex down on flannel.
I don't know. I think I'm a little bit below Lions players in terms of my guns, but I am working on
Tom
it.
Kennedy, baby.
I am working on that at Planet Fitness, because Planet Fitness is home of the judgment-free zone, where anyone, and we mean anyone, can feel comfortable and work on their fitness goals. We are here to help build a lasting, active lifestyle. At Planet Fitness, you will experience a squeaky clean gym that has tons of equipment, a full body workout in just 30 minutes, and the 30-minute circuit. And all memberships include fitness training, and you get all of this for only $10 a month. Yes, we are still only $10 a month. Your fitness is essential, and fitness is a key part of physical and mental wellness, which is why we've invited teens between the ages of 14 and 19 to work out free all summer long with our high school summer pass program. For more information or to join today, visit your local Planet Fitness or planetfitness.com. No matter where you are, there's a Planet Fitness close by. There are more than 50 in Metro Detroit and thousands more throughout the world. It's Planet Fitness, where your fitness is essential.
My goodness.
How would you like to win not one, but 2 vehicles of your choice? One for you and one for your wife, your girlfriend, or your best bud. Get to Lady Jane's today for an award-winning haircut and automatically enter for your chance to win. Courtesy of Les Stanford Buick GMC of Ferndale. Lady Jane's, open 7 days a week, walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome. You have an opinion? Make sure it's seen and heard. Corner, jumper, tweet us, hop on the YouTube chat, slide in the DMS at Woodward Sports on all social media.
Let me tell you about our friends over at Outdoor Equipment Company, because your childhood may be over, but certainly playtime is not. Outdoor Equipment Company is your source for outdoor power equipment, sales, service, and parts, carrying top brands such as LS Tractor, Bad Boy, Still, and much more. Servicing the Great Lakes region and locations in Metro Detroit, Greater Lansing. For more information, visit them, OutdoorEquipCo.com. Outdoor Equipment Co., your power equipment playground. Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Again, if you're watching live on the YouTube, hit the like button. Let's try to get to 100 likes by the end of this segment. If you can't watch live, you can go back and rewatch or re-listen to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, any podcast app you listen to. Leave a 5-star review for the Morning Woodward Show. If you're on the website, don't forget to check out the latest news, articles, updates, show clips, and merchandise. Articles are going to be flying all around the website now with training camp approaching from all of our wonderful writers, so don't forget to check that out. I want to just change the conversation a little bit. We just got done talking about playoff win or bust expectations. What about overrated teams? And I saw this, and I've been seeing this not just from this tweet, but I've seen it a lot in media too. Not nationally as much, but you see, like Rob Parker said something as well. Most overrated teams going into the 2023 season. And look who they have listed. And we'll discuss all these teams, but we'll get to the Lions. The Dallas Cowboys, and I think this is a Minnesota Vikings fan actually who tweeted this out, but regardless, think of the teams. Dallas Cowboys, Detroit Lions, Chicago Bears, New York Jets, New York Giants, the most overrated teams. Now, you know who I love on this list. I mean, Dallas Cowboys and New York Jets. I'm having fun with those two teams. Overrated, I think, is fair for some of these teams, but the question I have is, are we overrating the Detroit Lions? Is that a real thing? Is it because we're starving for success that we think this team is much better than they actually are, or is it real?
I don't think that we're overrating the Detroit Lions, but here's a very, very unique situation that the Lions are in. They go from a season in which they show vast improvement. They triple their win total from 2021, but they do not make the playoffs. And with all that they've added in the offseason and with the draft and with the development of certain guys like Aiden Hutchinson, Penei Sewell, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jared Goff, and Ben Johnson in the same system together, like working as a team, they go from a team that did not make the playoffs to the hunted, to the team that has the expectations to win the division and win a playoff game. It's different from, say, a team like the New York Giants, who also had a significant improvement from 2021 to 2022, and the Jacksonville Jaguars, who had a similar improvement from 2021 to 2022. But both of those teams, although they had similar records, Jacksonville had the same record, they actually won a playoff game. The Detroit Lions are expected to go from no playoffs, although much improved, to a division title and a playoff win. So I think there is a faction of people that just want the Lions to show us first, as Rick Ross would say. But I I personally expect that every single one of the things that we need for the Lions to do this year that they are going to accomplish. But I don't necessarily begrudge people for maybe being like, show us first. Although I think last year they did a significant jump in actually showing us something.
Now, and I'll answer this question quickly, and then we'll get to the other teams. But Lucas, are we overrating the Detroit Lions, do you think?
I don't understand how it's possible to overrate this team because, I mean, they're the team that improved the most outside, you could say, the Jets, but they didn't do it organically. And we've seen many times where teams like the Jets, especially when you're redeveloping your offense like that, just flake out, especially with a defensive head coach. The Chicago Bears, we will save that for later on in this segment. But no, this team is not overrated. This team showed you what they could be. Were the Jaguars on this list? I'll throw it up one more time. I don't think the Jags were on this list, though. Yeah, the Jags were on this list. And we talked about it earlier in the segment. I think the Lions and Jags, you can compare them for the two teams that improved the most, and they did it organically. So I don't think the rest of the teams align with the Lions at all.
What about you, Gabby? And I'll get to you, JB, after. But Lions overrated to some extent, or you think perfectly rated?
I think it's coming off as overrated because they've been underrated for so long. And because people have doubted them for so long that it's this like massive swing in the other direction that now it seems like they're overrated, but they're not. I think they're rated correctly and honestly still kind of underrated at some points.
What do you think, JB?
No, I kind of have to agree with Gabby. I think it's basically the media saying that we are overrated. But if anything, I think we are applying more pressure on this team to do great things rather than be overrated. So I think it's more pressure than overrated.
And I think Broder nails it. He says can't be overrated. If you use the term overhyped, it's a different conversation, but overrated, definitely not. I think that's fair. Overrated means you're rated over what you should be. I don't think the Lions are overrated. They were a team that, again, Jekyll and Hyde season. I think that's partially why people think they're overrated. You start 1-6, but you end 8-2. They looked like a very different team, and they got better. And they did it with one of the youngest rosters in the NFL. So if you think about it, young players typically get better the more experience they have. So if you think about it, the players they added, which are great players, they added arguably the best free agent available in C.J. Gardner-Johnson. They upgraded their secondary. They drafted well. The Lions did everything they had to do to improve their roster. I think that's fair. So I wouldn't say they're overrated. That's me. But what about these other teams? I want to bring up too. Anybody that shouldn't be on this list, or do you agree with anybody on this list as well? Dallas Cowboys, New York Jets, the Chicago Bears, NFC North team in this overrated list. What do you think? Any team you think should be there or shouldn't be there?
So the Cowboys, I think this goes off of more reputation than anything, because I think most people expect the Cowboys to finish second in that division, but the Cowboys always get overhyped, and since the mid-90s, they haven't won squat, despite at many times having very, very talented teams, like the last year and the year before, for example. And you look at, I don't know why the Giants are on this list, because the Giants, I think everyone expects them to maybe be a fringe wild card team. I actually don't, but at the same time, I don't hate that too much. I know for certain a lot of people at this network are vastly underrating the future AFC East champion New York Jets. Oh my God! I'm just saying. Aaron Rodgers is done, right? He's finished. He's cooked. But anywho, we've had that discussion many times. The Bears is an interesting one because we've got people at this network who tune into this show who are big voices at this network, and Easy and Booner, who basically think the Bears are a perpetual 2-15 team. I think when Broder did his tier list of quarterbacks, there were 7 of them. Booner had the audacity to say that Justin Fields should be in tier 8 under guys like Anthony Richardson and stuff like that. But at the same time, I think there's a lot of people that maybe feel like the Bears are a little bit overrated because last year they only won 3 games. And I think they're going to take a leap, but at the same time, if you want to doubt Justin Fields, I can't really kill you for that. If you want to doubt their defensive line, I can't really kill you for that. But at the same time, they made quite a few additions as well, and DJ Moore, Tremaine Edmonds, TJ Edwards, Nate Davis, those of the like. And I think they're going to be better, but at the same time, they haven't shown anything. They haven't proven anything. So I don't really hate the Bears. There's nobody on this list that really bothers me per se, except maybe I think the Giants are kind of vanilla and milquetoast.
I love this comment. Vincent Law dropping bars. He said Louis Riddick, the GOAT, You agree with that, Lucas?
Oh, that's football God.
That's your closest thing
That
too.
man knows ball.
Yeah, he does. Mike Martz, when these guys talk about what the Lions are cooking, I pay attention. Vincent Law, spot on. Listen to the people that provide information that is tangible, that you listen to. I don't think the Lions are overrated. That's what everybody else thinks, but we shall see. We'll go to break. When we get back, I want to discuss the New York Jets and have, because you kind of just threw that out there. No, we're gonna address that.
Okay.
How overrated are the New York Jets? Maybe some other teams we
Underrated.
think are overrated. We'll do all
Underrated.
that and much more. But before we do, Gabby, can you tell everybody about our friends over at Randy Wise?
Yeah, of course, because Randy Wise is where you go to make the wise choice when selecting your vehicle. Head on down to any Randy Wise location right now. Let them know that you watched the Celebrity Golf Tour, the first episode, and that you want to enter for their giveaway where you and your friends can go and play on one of Michigan's finest courses and win a dinner thanks to Fairway Packing Company. Head on down to Randy Wise today.
All of Detroit's sports teams live on Woodward. All of Detroit's sports coverage lives on Woodward Sports. Driving the best in Detroit sports coverage.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here at woodwardsports.com. Thanks so much for tuning in this morning. If you're watching on the website, have you checked out our articles yet? Matt Broder has been putting out some great articles leading up to training camp, where we will start to be at on Sunday. So that's very exciting.
I can't wait. And this is the time you have conversations about teams. And, you know, a lot of teams, I guess you could say at this point, to every fan base thinks they have a chance for the most part. So overrated, underrated, those conversations start to happen. We just got done talking about the Lions. Are they overrated? But I'm going to change the conversation. Name some overrated teams or underrated, however you feel that, you know, that teams that are being talked about right now, quite frankly, like the Cowboys is a great one. The Jets, who will be on Hard Knocks. Who's the most overrated team, or who are some teams that you think are overrated? Sam, you got one?
I have one. The Cincinnati Bengals, of course.
God.
Okay. Lucas, I know that you think I just have this vendetta against Joe Burrow. I do not. Here's the problem with the Cincinnati Bengals. You look at their offensive line and their secondary. To me, those are both significantly worse offensive lines and secondaries than even what the Chicago Bears have. The Cincinnati Bengals are actually doing a disservice to Joe Burrow by running out Shidobi Azuke, Cam Taylor-Britt, Dax Hill, and Nick Scott in the
Awuzie
secondary.
is good.
He's all right. But if he's your best secondary player,
No, that's true.
They lost Von Bell, they lost Jesse Bates, and their offensive line, I know they added Orlando Brown. At this stage of his career, though, I'm not even sure that he's a top 10 to 15 tackle. He's very, very good. He's an upgrade over what they have, but they still have 4 other offensive linemen that range from mid to not NFL starting caliber. So to me, that is a team that could fall off, and I think they play in one of the...
God.
What
do you mean by fall off?
I mean, win 9 games and miss the playoffs. I'm dead serious. Dead serious.
Because they lost Jesse Bates.
They have a horrible secondary and offensive line.
They lost Jesse Bates and Von Bell, but they still have Taylor Britt, who showed that he was a promising rookie last year, and then they have Sidney Jones, who's decent. He's not anything crazy, but it's... I mean, look at the secondaries that most of these elite quarterbacks around the league have outside of Jalen Hurts. The secondaries aren't crazy. When you have an elite quarterback and those weapons, it usually cancels out what the secondary can do, because the front seven isn't terrible. I get that their defense isn't elite, but it's still Joe Burrow, and he has some motivation after last year. Joe Burrow's coming back with a vengeance, and he's going to knock your Browns into second place, not first place.
That's the problem I have, I guess, with the Bengals. And the question I have is, Sam, you believe in the coach. You like Zach Taylor.
Yeah, I like Zach Taylor.
You like Joe Burrow.
I like him not as much as most, but I like him.
He's the second best quarterback in the NFL.
As of right now.
How are they overrated?
Because I don't think they're going to win the division. It's almost consensus that it's going to be Kansas City against Cincinnati, another round in the AFC Championship, and I don't think Cincinnati's going to make it that far. I actually wouldn't be surprised if they miss the playoffs because, as I said, they have those. They're weaker than every other contender at those two positions. Like it's a disservice to Joe Burrow at this point.
Well, the Bengals still have what? 3 or 4 of their top 5 players still?
Yeah, Joe Mixon just took a contract cut so they can still make an acquisition in the offseason or in the regular season because they still have cap space. Like, this team is going to be fine.
Joe Mixon is more mid now than I think people think.
I agree with you, but he's a serviceable running back, and in the playoffs, he's got playoff experience.
Sure.
Yeah, but Joe Mixon's not the reason they're going to win the division.
No, this team is fine,
It's Joe frickin' Burrow, and he's still there.
Oh, it's only because of Joe Burrow, not the fact that he has Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins.
And I'll get there. Did anybody depart?
Not from the wide receiving core.
And let me ask you this, Flannel. What do you think is more important in football, an offensive line or a secondary?
I would say offensive line.
And what happened when Joe Burrow, after a torn ACL, had arguably one of the worst offensive lines in NFL history?
I mean, they made the Super Bowl.
He beat your king, Patrick Mahomes.
But as I've always said, that was the only real choke job of Patrick Mahomes' career.
What happened the other 2 times? Joe Burrow started 3-0 against them.
They were regular season.
That's still matchups where it's like, oh, the Bengals might not make the playoffs.
I never said that.
He's 3-0 against Patrick Mahomes in the regular season. I'm not worried about him when he goes up against the AFC North and Aaron Rodgers even. I don't care. I don't.
What was that accent?
Yeah, right?
Yeah, Bengals to me are I don't think are overrated, but another team I want to bring up that I think is underrated in the same division. I think the Browns are underrated.
Look at this, man. Come into my side.
And I know. Well, I'm not going to say they're going to win
right.
the division, but I will say at least nationally. I was watching TV yesterday, or it was a clip I caught actually on YouTube, and it was some show nationally talking about the AFC, the division. You had the Bengals, the Steelers, Ravens, and people are talking about, and the Browns, and people are talking about, well, the Ravens are sneaky in that division, and the Bengals. And what about the Browns? Like, I think people are so quick to forget about what Deshaun Watson was. I think the Cleveland Browns, because it is Cleveland, so it's part of that. We would know in Detroit. There is a little bit of that is underrated because the last time we saw what the Browns did, it was only a couple years ago, Sam, where they won a playoff game and went toe-to-toe with the Chiefs with Baker Mayfield.
They did.
With Baker Mayfield. So you don't think Deshaun Watson, if he could return to 85% of what he was, they can be a danger in the AFC? I think so. They have a great roster. I think they're underrated. But to say the Bengals are overrated, I don't know if I can go that far.
I mean,
I think that's a little too over the top.
If the Cincinnati Bengals played in the AFC South, I would 100% pick them to win the division. But the thing is, and you kind of mentioned it, Deshaun Watson, I know that he missed a lot of time due to his own decision-making. I will just put it at that. But 2018 to 2020, Deshaun Watson was at least a facsimile of what Joe Burrow has been the last couple of years.
Deshaun was him.
He was him.
Me and you agree. I agree that the Browns are going to be at least second in the division. I agree with you there, Flannel. I think this team is going to be a lot better than people give it credit for.
What about another overrated team that was mentioned with the Bears, the Packers? Bears were mentioned, but I do think, and maybe this is a little, contradicting because I'm talking about NFC North teams being overrated. Is there a little bit of, overhype or whatever, being overrated with the Bears and the Packers? Like, trust me, the Bears last year won 3 games. The Packers won 8 games. You lose Aaron Rodgers. You got Jordan Love. We don't know if Jordan Love can even play. We really don't know at all. And we would agree that the Packers season essentially rides a lot on Jordan Love and what he looks like. I do think people, when they talk about the Packers, it's like, oh, yeah, they can win 8-9 games. Well, we don't know. How good is Jordan Love? There's still a big question mark there, and I think there is a little bit of overrating the Packers, but I think the Bears are another one. If they won 3 games last year, how many games do you think they're going to win? 6, 7, 8 games, whatever it is? Yeah. Is that worth a discussion? Like, the Bears, to me, are no way in hell, because they didn't really make any significant additions to their defensive line. It's still questionable. They got better at linebacker. They have a pretty good secondary. To me, there's a lot more questions still with the Bears to be like, hey, the Bears are here, and they're going to win 8-9 games. I don't think that. So I think the Bears, even though I like Justin Fields, there is a little bit of overrating going on in the NFC North. I do think that.
I mean, something you said earlier, I think actually makes a lot of sense because I'm actually higher on the Bears than most coming into the year, but I don't expect them to win more than 7 or 8 games. Is that even really worth discussing? Obviously,
Right.
teams need to make incremental improvements, but at the same time, I don't think anybody is saying that the Bears are going to make the playoffs. I just think to some people, the Bears are still largely irrelevant. I just don't think they're going to be terrible. I think they're going to be a serviceable NFL team with noticeable improvement.
Yeah,
But
which is normal.
Right, which is normal.
Maybe doesn't deserve all the hype in the world, but it is what it is,
Yeah.
I guess. Lucas and everyone, I want you guys to get your opinion. Bears, Packers, Vikings, NFC North. Any overrating going on with those
I
teams?
think the Packers are the most overrated because, and I think there's the same thing you can say with the Bears. People think they're going to be really good. Some people think they're going to be really bad. And the fact of the matter is they're going from Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love. That is all I need to know because Matt LaFleur in the playoffs had Aaron Rodgers and can barely go anywhere. So I think Matt LaFleur is a suspect head coach, and you guys can give your opinion on that. But as a Lions fan, I am much more worried about going into Chicago than I am going into Lambeau this year. And as far as an NFL team I think is overrated, I want to get Flannel's take on this because I know he's a big Herbert fan. But I think the Chargers are the most overrated team right now. I think they are year in and year out. Could they prove me wrong? Absolutely. But I need to fucking see it first.
I mean, the thing about the Chargers is they are kind of a perpetually cursed franchise. I mean, going way back to the 80s with Dan Fouts and then Phillip Rivers and all of that. The Chargers are always going to Charger. They are always a little bit worse than the sum of their parts because, I mean, we would all agree the Chargers have a damn good roster. I mean, across the board. I don't even need to mention all of the players that they have, both offensively and defensively, but they do kind of tend to fall short of expectations. And one of the problems they're going to face now, and I think this is completely understandable, is are they really going to overtake the Kansas City Chiefs in that division, the Monstars themselves? Absolutely not. I think they're going to top out as being maybe the first wild card team perpetually. And are they ever going to win anything with that? I don't know.
Go ahead, Jeff.
No, I was just going to ask the resident Bears defender, JB. I'm just kidding, by the way. But he's been high on the Bears for a while now, and I'd like to go to JB for this. Is there a little bit of overrating going on with the Bears, or you think they're fairly rated?
No, I think they're fairly rated. As Lucas said, if I were the Lions, I'd be a little bit more worried about going to face the Bears than the Packers, as is. I don't think they're going to be miles ahead and take this huge leap, but you're going to see, as you said, Jeff, those slight improvements that could make them dangerous later on in a couple years from now. But no, I think they're fairly rated. The Packers are extremely overrated. As Lucas said, you're going from Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love. You still don't know what you have in this guy. He hasn't been out there for a full season. I'm sure he's going to learn right now in training camp, but still, it's like you don't know what you have in him. So that's just me.
Well, especially with the speculation with Jordan Love and Justin Fields, I think there's a little bit of overrating going on. But to JB's point, there's more. It's more with the Packers because we've seen Jordan Love twice, 3 times,
not
one
much.
time. It's been at least Justin Fields. We could say we've seen 2 seasons of Justin Fields, so we kind of see the progression. Although I think both quarterbacks they're big question marks. At least Justin Fields, we see he showed the potential to some extent. Jordan Love, I don't know. You won 8 games last year with Aaron Rodgers in a down year, which for most guys would be a career year if you think about it, just being 100% serious right now. But even with Aaron Rodgers, they won 8 games with Aaron the year prior, and the year prior to that, back-to-back MVPs. Now you're going to Jordan Love. Are you going to go from Hall of Famer to Hall of Famer to Hall of Famer?
No,
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so. Odds would say
Jordan
no,
Love
Lucas.
has nothing that has. The only thing that Jordan Love and gets people excited is when he hits Christian Watson on a 7-yard slant route and Christian Watson takes him 70 yards to the house. Jordan Love, even going back to college, he has done nothing to wow anybody. He's a 31st 31st pick in the first round. He has shown through 4 years. If they picked him in the first round to replace Aaron, they probably wanted to have that a little bit quicker. And they already extended him to a 2-year deal. That in itself tells me, yeah, this guy, we don't know anything. And if it's in year 4 and you don't know anything, that is an issue.
Well, I'll tell you what. I got to tell you about our friends over at Dispo. Because if you think Jordan Love is going to be a Hall of Famer, I got the place to go. It's Dispo. Indulge in some cannabis and kind of rethink that thought and see if it makes sense when you sober up. But enjoy your time at Dispo. You can experience the true meaning of exceptional cannabis products with Dispo Dispensary. You can indulge in the finest selection of cannabis curated with care. With over 10 locations, Dispo is never far away. Visit disposhops.com today and unlock a world of endless possibilities in the realm of cannabis. That is DISPO shops.com, your local cannabis plug.
At work and at home, we're there with smarter security solutions. Featuring complete automation with customized alerts and more. For over 90 years, we've been the company that's been counted on to protect what matters most, all with personalized service and care. Right now, for a limited time, receive a free video device plus free installation with a new home system. Guardian Alarm. We protect Michigan.
Woodward Avenue, the first paved road in America. Woodward Sports, the first sports network born in Detroit and made for Detroit.
We're back. It's the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Thank you guys for sticking with us. Again, if you haven't already, hit the like button on the YouTube stream. Hit the subscribe button. We're super close to 45,000 subscribers, so continue to support the channel. If you're on the website, don't forget to check out the latest news, articles, updates, show clips, and merchandise, especially before the Lions season. You're going to want to get right. You're going to want to rock the Woodward Sports merch, especially all the new designs that we have coming out. If you can't watch the show live, you can catch it Spotify, Apple, whatever podcast app you listen to. Don't forget to leave a 5-star review. Now that we have 10 minutes roughly until what's trending with Lucas and then mailbag, of course, I wanted to bring up the Tigers because I know it's training camp day, but I have to say, Sam, the Tigers over the last, I guess you could say week or so, haven't been too bad to watch. I guess I could say that. I know at least yesterday they lost a close one, but regardless, the positive in all this, Spencer Torkelson over the last 10 games. He's batting .293, 12 hits, 9 RBIs, and 8 runs scored. Your thoughts, Spencer Torkelson?
Well, here's the thing. Spencer Torkelson obviously just had the best game of his life last year, but that happened to coincide with Tarek Skubal giving up 7 runs in 4 innings. And it's funny, in the 2 games where Tarek Skubal gave up 0 runs, the Tigers couldn't support them with Bupkis and lost both of those games. And then when he finally doesn't pitch well, the Tigers end up giving up 11 and they score 10. It is just, the Tigers are just maddening at this point. So that's why after they lost that game at home against Toronto on the Sunday before the All-Star break, I kind of had to just detach myself from the Detroit Tigers and kind of say that was where the music died. I will say this though, Jeff, if the Tigers had done what they should have done and went to Kansas City and won all 4, swept all 4, then I would be back in. But of course, their loss last night happened to coincide with the Minnesota Twins win, so now the Tigers are 6 games out of first. Oof. Obviously, we want to see Spencer Torkelson make vast improvements at the end of the year so that next year he can be a cornerstone piece of this team. But first, for the love of God, get that on-base percentage and that batting average up. Get that OPS up. Because, to be fair though, the power numbers are kind of where you'd expect them to be, but I need to see those other percentages, average, OPS, on base percentage, bring those up, pump those up. Those are rookie numbers, what you got right now.
And the other part of this, and I guess the other question, and I heard Ermanni and Edwards talk about this, going all in or selling at the deadline. What should the Tigers do, or at least moving forward? Because over the last 5 games, they're 3-2. They look better. Spencer Torkelson looks better. You talked about Tarek Skubal struggling a little bit, but overall, at this point, sell, buy. Because they talked about, and I think it was Ryan Ermanni, and I'm mistaken. Sorry if I'm wrong on this or incorrect. It could be Sean Belize, it could be Maz. But they were talking about, the Tigers right now owe it to their fans to go all in, at least at this point. They're, 5 games, I believe, roughly, still out from the division. 6 games now, excuse me. I think you should sell. You trade E-Rod. Especially in a contract year, you get what you can for whatever assets you currently have. We know this thing's going to be rough. Like we knew, Scott Harris knew what he signed up for. This was going to be a 4 to 5 year project. We know it is. So I think trying to buy and trying to go all in or attempt to go in a season where we understand it's most likely over, I don't agree with that philosophy, but maybe I'm crazy. Am I alone on this?
No,
Sell.
I would 100% sell at this point, and this is coming from someone who would give anything for the Tigers to be a competitive team. I mean, hell, in the homestand before the All-Star break, I was thinking that could be their run that could propel them to maybe win a crap division, but instead they went 2-4 on that homestand, and effectively it was over from there. And you most certainly have to trade Eduardo Rodriguez at this point. You have to. I mean, he's going to walk after this year. There's no question about it. He's probably going to get a bigger contract in free agency this year. And the reality is even if the Detroit Tigers do buy, they probably still won't win that division. People act like 6 games is nothing. It's a huge hill to climb, especially when you're 6 games out and 10 games under 500. Do you expect the Tigers to go on a stretch anytime soon where they maybe win 15 of 20? That's probably what it would take.
That I would clear the deck. I would clear the show prep and just talk about the Tigers.
Sure.
If you win 15 out of the next 20 games, I'll tell you. And Broder's chiming in here, who resident Michigan alumni, played baseball there. Broder chiming in. He says Scott Harris is evaluating everybody and cleaning house, building up the minors from the ground up, which is. It's a tough job for Scott Harris. Hanging around is nice, but they're planning for 3 to 4 years down the line. He also says you can make moves that help the team now, but it isn't necessarily wholesale, fire sale, or going all in. Just make smart moves, like moving Erod. And I guess that's the other part of this, too. I'm not saying sell everybody, but Erod's certainly a candidate where his value right now, get rid of him. Get what you can for him, because even if you do re-sign Erod, again, this is still a 3 to 4 year project. And the assets you currently have or you're building that are coming up from the minors aren't going to be here for a couple of years. So, in my opinion, you sell. But I know for Tigers fans, it's hard because in a season where we knew they'd be bad, and I don't want to say they're hanging on in the division because 6 games isn't especially with context. I mean, you have the Minnesota 2 games over 500. You have Cleveland just under 500. They got to sell. And I'm sorry, Tigers fans, that still have hope, that are still optimistic. 6 games, you're out. At this point, it's nice to see you're 42-52. It's nice, right? You're 10 games under 500. But Sam, that doesn't mean you go all in or attempt to be mid. I think it's essentially safe to say it's over. It's over.
I mean, if you wanted to go all in, if you wanted to really make a push, you pound the Oakland A's and then you pound the Kansas City Royals, 2 teams that are basically minor league teams.
You mean the Oakland A's who have what, a 33-5 record against the Lions over since 2017 or something like that?
Well, these are not the same old A's. This is the worst team in Major League Baseball, and they lost
still won.
They lost 2 out of 3 to the A's, and then the one way they could have maybe made up for it, like I said earlier, was to sweep Kansas City at Kansas City. And in one of the games in this entire year in which the Detroit Tiger bats wake up and give you 10, they give up 11. So that if that's not symbolic of this season is over, that the music has officially died, I don't know what is. But to be fair, though, I am kind of happy that the Tigers actually do look like a Major League Baseball team with some pieces that you can use going forward, that can be good going forward, like Riley Green, like Matt Manning, like hopefully Spencer Torkelson, like Tarek Skubal, and they're not just gonna bottom out and be like a 55-60 win team, because there are people in the Detroit sports media, even maybe 1 or 2 at this network, who seem to kind of get their jollies off to the fact that, oh, this is going to be terrible. This is going to be a 55-win team. This is going to be a complete disaster. They're going to be historically bad. I'm at least glad that those kind of masochistic fans, or however you would want to say, aren't going to be happy.
No, they're not. And the MVP comment of the day, at least for Tigers Talk, goes to Dad with Tourette's. He says, how I look at sports is, if you aren't a contender, you're a seller, period. If you don't believe that even by some miracle we make the playoffs, can you go on a run? No. Then sell. The middle is purgatory. Yeah, that's JB. If you have it, I need like a ding, ding, ding sound effect there, because that's facts. What Dad with Tourette's just said. And I think the Tigers are in that realm of in that purgatory right now. You sell. Unless you're a legitimate contender, you sell. And I think that logic does apply to really all sports. So I think that's fair to say. I do. I'll tell you what, we'll go to break. When we get back, we'll get to what's trending with Lucas, and then we'll get to mailbag. So get your questions ready. But before we do that, Sam, where can I get a haircut? Because I kind of do need one.
I mean, I think your hair looks fine as is, Jeff Iafrate. But, if you want your hair looking this good, which yours is not quite there yet, you got to go to Lady Jane's soon. I'm just kidding. Of course, Jeff Iafrate has great hair. But I also have great hair, and it's made even better by the wonderful stylist at Lady Jane's, because any single one of them just does a great job that I just go in and I'm like, just pick one. I don't have a specific one. They all get me hooked
Get the
up
flannel
right.
fade.
Get the flannel. Hey. I don't need that. I have the same hairstyle I've had for pretty much my whole life. But how would you like to win a new vehicle for you and a friend? That's right, a new car for you and your wife, girlfriend, or best bud. Just get to Lady Jane's and automatically register for your chance to win, courtesy of Les Stanford Buick GMC of Ferndale. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men, open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
Introducing the Planet Fitness Guide to getting that post-workout glow. Step 1. What's your why? More epic energy? Better sleep? Blow off steam? Step 2. Join Planet Fitness for just $10 a month and get moving in our clean and spacious clubs. Step 3. Bask in that post-workout glow. Join Planet Fitness today for just $10 a month.
Join today at any of the 50-plus Detroit area locations.
The only sports network in Detroit that starts with a W. Because we win. Woodward Sports, Detroit's winning sports network.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here at woodwardsports.com. Thanks so much for tuning in. We're happy to have you here with us all week, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. You know where to find us, woodwardsports.com, or on the YouTube channel where you can subscribe, and get into the chat. I know you want to use some of those emotes. Get to getting that subscription right now. And if you're listening via podcast, download this episode and leave a 5-star review. But now it's time for What's Trending with Lucas.
It is time. And we kind of talked about already, the football god, Louis Riddick. Well, JB sent it over early. He was on Get Up this morning, and it's not a video, but look at what he had to say.
What did he say?
He's doubling down. Louis Riddick. It is ridiculous. Get it? Riddick, ridiculous. To dismiss what Jared Goff did last year for the Lions. The Detroit Lions are a legitimate Super Bowl contender. Oh, hell yeah! And that's my guy right there. Louis Riddick puts on, and Louis Riddick just doesn't put on to put on. He knows. He called out the Eagles train last year. The only time I've seen Louis Riddick miss is when he talks about the Colts, and I think everybody is victim of that.
Yeah.
But is it overrated? Because we just talked about it. Is it overrated to call the Lions a legitimate now, not just like a Detroit Lions fan want to get him there, because this isn't coming just from a Detroit Lions fan. Are they a legitimate Super Bowl contender? Jeff Iafrate, Sam Flannel, JB Smooth, Gabby D. Phillips.
JB, if you don't already, I'm gonna need a track for this, just for this commentary, okay? Because I want to bring this up. I defer to Louis Riddick. I defer to him, okay? I don't defer to Jim Bob 62 on Twitter. All right, Louis Riddick, like you said, is the closest thing to football god. When that man speaks, I listen. And the fact that he's saying it, especially on national TV, which I appreciate, you can't dismiss what Jared Goff did last season or what the Lions did. They're Super Bowl contenders. Listen, I don't know. Louis, you can say they're Super Bowl contenders. I'm with you. But that is crazy to think about, Sam Flannel. To put the Lions in the same sentence as Super Bowl, I mean, it's getting real. It's getting real.
As you mentioned, it is Louis Riddick, and if I could cue up the Dance Gavin Dance on An Easy Heart's Way the Most, it's a paraphrase. When he talks, I listen. I'm not going to finish those lyrics because it's actually when she talks, I listen. But anywho, it is Louis Riddick. He is one of the best analysts on TV, and the reality is we all expect the Detroit Lions to win the division and win a home playoff game. And by that, at that point, I know the 49ers look to be better and the Eagles look to be better, but if they can win one playoff game, you never know how it's going to shake out.
So, and I don't want to go to this comment too, because the integrity of Louis Riddick was questioned.
Yeah, that's what. Are you looking at Ethan S right now?
So Ethan S, and listen, by the way, appreciate Ethan S. He's always in the morning show chat, so big shout out to you. He said, so he trusts Louis Riddick's opinion on golf, but now multiple executives, coaches, and scouts on Amon Ra. By the way, we at least put a name to Louis Riddick.
Yeah.
I don't know who's saying what about Jared Goff. Now, I'm not saying they're 100% off. I might disagree. Louis Riddick, we've seen him say things and they happen.
Louis Riddick has gotten job interviews to be an NFL GM, and these are the same executives and scouts that said Amon-Ra St. Brown isn't even an honorable mention for the wide receivers list. So yeah, I'm going to take Louis Riddick's word about ball better than those guys, because Louis Riddick knows ball.
Because we've seen things he says.
There's a formula.
Yeah,
Louis Riddick knows, but Louis Riddick plus football equals football god. That's all you need to know. When he talks, you listen. Dan Orlovsky, he's approaching that territory, but he's still a little bit of a Lions homer for me. Just a little bit.
If he said the Lions are going to suck this year, hey, I'm going to listen. I'm going to be like, why'd Louis Riddick say that? Like, the man's always spot on. But what else you got for us, Lucas?
Oh, and Flannel, it's time finally for this. We caught JB lacking. So we were scrolling on Twitter the one day, and we saw this image pop up. And we're like, man, is this too big for you? And me and Flannel, we were discussing it. Flannel, what was your answer to it?
No. But I love my wife, obviously.
What is your wife?
Because he's a married man. He's commenting on another woman in a body type. He's having some respect. But for me, it's a little too big for me. Jeff, opinion?
Oh, my God.
We'll have JB's opinion here soon.
Why?
Is that too big for you?
Why is this? Why? JB, you answer.
No, JB, you don't answer. This is what JB had to say. He said, nope, where's she at? Caught him lacking. Oh, God.
JB!
What do you have to say for yourself, JB?
Everything was factual in that statement. I don't know. I had the Ace Ventura. Where's she at? Hey,
JB, you dog.
Hey, she was a beautiful woman. I mean, she's a little thick. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. A little thick, but yeah. Ace Ventura, where's she at?
Okay, now I know why you brought this up. Now it makes sense. Okay,
we saw that, and I was like, dude, we gotta get JB on the show for it.
You caught JB down bad at that. Oh, I love you, JB, dude. I love you, man.
JB, you are the GOAT. You are the GOAT. There's no disputing that.
Yeah, but you know what, JB, and like Todd says, no need to explain. No need to explain, where you're coming from there. All right, I respect it.
But on a more serious note, we'll transition from that. We'll try to at least. So we all know, obviously, about the NFL running back situation. I kind of found this statistic kind of mind-boggling, that the fact that Justin Tucker and kickers of his sort, Justin Tucker's probably an anomaly compared to him, but the average salary for an NFL kicker is $2.26 million. So think about a kicker and what they have to go through. A running back, the average salary is $1.8 million.
Wow.
So that stat is mind-boggling to me. But then it comes up that NFL running backs, they have a big problem with this. And they have now decided that as of Monday, they are going to team up and complain about the situation on social media.
Oh, yeah, that works.
So this is the way of coming about it. But I know you guys kind of talked about it earlier on the show yesterday. But me personally, I have a theory that the running back position, the current running back position, is kind of going to morph into the current fullback. And then the fullback, they're going to kind of, or you can switch it out, whatever. But a running back is now going to be considered a playmaker, like Jahmyr Gibbs and like all those guys. And once that happens, I think that is the way. I think they need to position themselves into finding a new way to classify them, come up with a new position, and then the pay will rise. Because then you can differentiate, okay, I'm a running back who can catch, I'm a playmaker. I'm a running back who can't catch, I'm a running back, fullback, whatever you want to say. Yeah. That's what they need to do in order to get their money back up. But do you think it'll change anytime soon?
So,
I don't know why
I just had like a...
I hit 2, I hit 0.
Well, no, I just keep thinking about what you brought up just a second ago.
Transition.
I'm sorry.
Hard to transition back to sports.
I'm sorry. Okay.
I wonder what her personality was like.
JB, what do you think her personality's like?
She's probably very intelligent.
She's got a big personality.
Answer.
She got a big personality.
You know what,
probably
Lucas?
has
Don't twist it.
All right. I'm sorry. To answer your question, by the way, complaining on social media, I think it sounds like stupid, but it really does work. I mean, a lot of their tweets were brought up on national shows, so to some extent it did bring light. The question I have, and Chuck Brewer brought this up, And it's a great point by Chuck. He says, what's the average number of years of service that kickers have compared to running backs?
Sure.
That's part of it, but the other part of it, look how the NFL has moved away from drafting running backs, at least as many in the first round.
Oh.
So salaries, by default, decrease because you're getting guys like Isaiah Pacheco in the 7th round. How much he make? I mean, not even $1 million.
Compared to...
Exactly. So that's why the average has gone down, but it is sad. I mean, running backs, every team needs one. You got to run the football. But also, this is just kind of how the NFL's moving. I can't, as much as I feel bad for running backs, and I hate that the position's being, minimized and discriminated against, whatever it may be, it is just the truth. I mean, it's kind of like what happens in today with like technology. If people are getting replaced, their jobs are being replaced because AI basically can do anything. It sucks. What are you going to do about it? Like running backs, they're being devalued. It sucks. But what are you going to do about it?
I mean,
the game's evolving.
I feel the same way about you. That no.
Wait, hold on.
You're not needed anymore, Jeff.
The
way the league is going, you will not be needed.
No, that was
It's my last day in the morning.
Nope, I feel the same way that you do. I completely goofed my words right there. But the point is that last season, the Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes had his best running back that he has ever played with as a 7th-round rookie. You had Dameon Pierce last year, who was, I believe, a 4th-round pick at over 900 yards.
Right.
You had like Tyler Algier, who was 1,000 yards as a 5th-round rookie. Even a guy like Kenneth Walker, who was one of the better college running backs I'd seen in the past 5 to 10 years, absolutely torched Michigan in that game. He was a 2nd-round pick, and because he was able to, and he even came in and rushed for 1,000 yards. And you even look a couple of years ago. Do you remember that former Jacksonville Jaguars running back James Robinson?
Yep.
Remember him just come right into the league? I believe he was undrafted and just get 1,000 yards.
Yes.
I hate it more than anything in the world that guys like Saquon and even Josh Jacobs are not able to get paid and get those long-term deals, but it just is the way it is. You have to accept reality as it is, not as you want it to be. And if running backs, they feel like they have some recourse, go ahead and try it, but at the same time, the position is being devalued.
Yes, and I don't disagree with teams thinking, you know what, we have a good running back, but we could probably replace him in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, hell, 7th round, even undrafted. To your point, the problem I have is when the elite guys get disrespected, like Saquon. You can't just go find another Saquon. It does not happen. So that's where I disagree with it, but it is sad to say the least. Lucas.
Well, I agree with you, and that will be all for me today for what's trending.
There
Shout
you
out
go.
JB for starring in today's show.
Yeah, man, that killed me, man. I'm like laughing after you brought it up, just by myself. We'll go to break when we get back. Get your questions ready. We'll get to mailbag and so much more. But before we go to break, I got to tell you about our friends over at SMA, because the sports marketing agency helps spread awareness about mental health and substance abuse. Their mental health and substance abuse podcast called This is the S Word helps fight the stigma about seeking help. If you or someone you know is struggling, head to thesportsma.com for more information.
Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
Play, practice, and party at 5 Iron Golf. Open now. Located inside of the Cambria Hotel. Downtown's newest sports bar has taken 13 TrackMan simulators, certified instructors, and a full bar and restaurant. Mention promo code Woodward at checkout for 50% off your first visit, and visit 5irongolf.com to tee up good times. That is 5irongolf.com.
We're back here on the Morning Woodward Show, Woodward Sports Network. Don't forget, if you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button, subscribe. Try to get to 45,000 subscribers. If you're on the website, don't forget to check out the latest news, articles, updates, show clips, and merchandise. And leave a 5-star review for the podcast. The Morning Woodward Show, Apple, Spotify, whatever platform you listen to podcasts. And now Jamcat will lead us off in mailbag. He says, WSN Mailbag, does the morning show body the heavyweights in a tag team wrestling match? No.
Yeah.
Nope.
No, I don't know where that thought came from, but no, you have to. I'm not that guy, pal. Against the heavyweights, they got about 100 pounds on me.
Well,
there's no way.
If you want a little insider information, me and Spencer were kind of filming a certain little video, and we kind of each put on helmets, and we collided head to head, and I'm just like, oh my goodness.
On this video, Flannel? What type of video is this?
Promo for something.
Okay, yes. I didn't know if I was allowed to say that, but yes.
I'll tease it.
But yes, and when we collided, I just felt my bell just get rung, and I'm just like, oh my God, Spence, you're so big. I don't know why I did that. So no, I at least, I'm speaking for myself, I would get murdered.
Now, Ethan S says, Jeff, just be like Rey Mysterio. Now that's possible. Maybe the athleticism, I can get somewhere, but no, those big boys, they got the advantage in that area, no doubt about it. Let's see here. It Hip says, would you consider the Lions having a successful season if they lose the division, barely beat the Cowboys in the playoffs, then get blown out by the 49ers in the next round? So don't win the division. That's a lot going on.
This is a very specific
A lot going on. Okay, so you miss the division, you win a playoff game, a close one against the Cowboys, and then you get blown out by the 49ers? Is that... Yeah, that's essentially the... Yeah. I mean, you win a playoff game, so I think a lot of people would just think of that, but... The division, you're going to have to win at some point. Like, you're going to have to win it. I would be happy you won a playoff game, but also, why couldn't you win the division? Like, I need some context with that, because if you're good enough to beat the Cowboys, where the hell was this in the NFC North?
I mean, Jordan Love was the
and
next
who's
coming
better?
Aaron Rodgers.
And the question I'd have was, who's better? Like, how many more games of the team who win more than you?
No.
I don't know. But a playoff win, I think we'd all be ecstatic about that.
I suppose.
John says, Mailbag, has Sam ever dated a thick girl? How'd it go?
Look at his face.
Oh, my
His
God.
eyes got so big.
Jesus Christ. Wait a minute.
He goes, it takes me back.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't take me back, because the only woman that I have eyes for is my wife, and she she's perfect in every single way. Every single way.
W husband right there.
Thank you.
Good man, Sam Flannel. John Lord says, Mailbag, Flannel, first you want Steve Eiserman's job, now you want to take Jeff's job.
No.
Is that true?
I don't want either of their jobs, for the record. That was just bro, I have to be on air for like 4 hours a day, every day. Sometimes you're going to slip up a few words, right? I mean, we've all experienced it.
Jeff says, Mailbag, Jeff, do the Pistons make a trade involving Bojan before the trade deadline? I do think so, yes. He's not getting any younger. The contract's friendly, and I think contenders are going to be calling the Pistons. They feel like Bojan might be that piece of the puzzle they're missing. But there's also the other side where I actually wouldn't mind if they kept him. I'm kind of in both camps. I think you could use a 50, 40, 90 guy, but he's also getting older. So I think both ways, I'm cool with it. But if I had to give a prediction, I do think he'll be traded. Chuck says, the two of you combined don't match one of the heavyweights. That's fair, Chuck. He's got a point.
Probably.
Dan Wood, what's Jeff's next career path now that he's getting replaced? I'm going to have to take some time to think about it, Dan Wood. Sam Flannel, when he takes over the morning show, I'm going to have to take a step back here.
Jeff is a pleasure to work with. Let me just get that out there. Every single one of you in this room. One of my favorite parts of my day is hanging out with all of you guys in this room. So, like, don't get it twisted. That wasn't a Freudian slip or anything like that. I misspoke one line out of what, like 1,000 something today? Come on.
What about this, Sam? Lucian says, Mailbags, Flannel, if the Browns and Bengals played in the wild card against each other, who you got? You really taking the Browns? What about the Jets versus the Bengals?
I mean, here's the problem. If they all meet in the playoffs, the Cincinnati Bengals will be on the road. So I would absolutely take the Browns or the Jets over both of them.
What are you laughing about, Lucas?
Coach Walk 37 had a comment in there that just made me. I saw.
What do you say?
It's mean. I don't want.
Oh boy.
It's
All
not
right.
true. Flannel, don't speak
you're
on
an
it. But
ass.
he created a false narrative about you and your virginity that made me laugh.
I could. You know what? I'm not going to confirm nor deny. So what if she did?
Yeah.
So what if she did?
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. It really is. I'm with you, Sam. Duke says, Mailbag, what happens first? Gibbs rush for 1,000 or Laporta have 1,000 receiving yards?
What was the question? I heard
Lucas?
Laporta. That's all I heard.
What happens first? Gibbs rush for 1K or Laporta have 1,000 receiving yards?
Gibbs.
Ooh, this is hard. This is hard, Lucas. That's your Hall of Famer.
It is my Hall of Famer.
That is your Hall of Famer.
I do love Jahmyr Gibbs.
Which one is it?
It hurts me to say it's Gibbs.
You really
it's
stumped
Gibbs.
him.
It's Gibbs. Fuck you for asking that question. But no, Laporta will get it eventually. Maybe like year 3.
Oh,
But Gibbs could get it year 1 even, year 2.
Do you want me to?
Yeah,
Losing
dude.
faith. You're
I'm
sounding more scared than stoked.
Yeah, it sounds like you're a little scared.
I'm not scared. If I was
You walking-
scared, I'd be like, oh, Laporta. But I'm just
You
like,
walking
no.
back on your Laporta Hall of Famer?
No, this is not what I'm saying at all, but these are both great players. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be electric with the ball in his hand, and I have no doubt
So
about
he'll go
it.
for 1,000
Yeah, that's what
before
I just said.
Laporta.
That's what I just said.
All right. Let's make it sure.
I ain't scared. Toledo tough, baby.
Just making sure. That's all. Let's see here. Big Con 51 mailbag. Golf stat line at the end of the season. Does it deserve an extension?
That is to be determined.
Yeah, it's to be. I think the stats it matters, but also the Lions, the amount of games they win matters. Let's say they win 9 games, but he plays well. That ain't it for me, especially if the defense is what we think they'll be. But regardless, I think we'll have right around the same touchdowns, but he'll have more interceptions. That's where I'm at. Yeah. I think similar stat line, more picks.
I'd say about like 65% completion, 4,500 yards, 31 touchdowns, 10 picks, something like that. Kind of similar.
You
to
got
last
the
year.
yards per attempt and everything else, or you want to go with that?
I don't. I have the basic. stats.
I'm kidding. Man, 65% completion percentage. I was just messing with you. All right. Let's see. Any more mailbag? Lucian says, mailbag, who is a celebrity each of you want to meet? We'll end it with this. A celebrity you want to meet. Lucas.
If I could meet one celebrity on Earth,
Yeah.
Andrew Tate probably. I'd love to pick that guy's mind. Just see everything that's boggling around up there and just pick his mind for a little bit, get some valuable information, how I can develop my life and become a successful entrepreneur and alpha male. I'm going Andrew Tate.
Wow. Wow. Andrew Tate. What about you, Sam?
LeBron James. Duh.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, you kind of knew where that was going. What about you, JB?
I got to go with DJ, Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Ooh.
Dwayne The Rock Johnson. What about you, Gabby?
I think I'm going to have to go with Julie Andrews.
All right. Well, there you go.
The sound of
what about you?
Who's your pick, Jeff? Put the cam on you.
I kind of like Lucas.
Yeah, or like Fresh and
but
Fit,
there's
talk
a
to
lot of
Myron.
Yeah, that's another one. I don't know. There's so many. Like, for me, I guess, did you say athlete or celebrity?
Celebrity. I have them in 2 different categories.
I'll go. You went with LeBron. I'll go Drake. Why not? I'll go something different. Me Drake. How can I, be an entrepreneur? That's what I'd ask him. How can I make money? But Andrew Tate's a good one. I don't know about that one. Let's see. John says Jeff wants to meet Lena the Plug. No, I don't. I actually want to stay as far away from her as I can. Just for precautionary reasons. I don't want to catch anything. So I'm staying away from her and Adam 22. That's for sure. But I'll tell you what, thank you for not staying away from the Morning Woodward Show.
Hey.
Appreciate that. And joining us every morning this week. We appreciate you guys, every single one of you, for joining us, for chiming in the chat, joining the conversation. I can't thank you enough. From Jeff Iafrate, Sam Flannel, JB, Gabby, and Lucas. Again, tomorrow we're going to have a great show planned. Make sure to be there. It's going to be a lot of Lions talk coming up. Training camp is just around the corner. Rookies report today, but the action starts very soon. Can't wait for that and much more. Until tomorrow, the Morning Woodward Show crew, we'll see you guys tomorrow.